He's got a Marlboro clenched in his teeth, ashes falling like snow on the street, a storm in his eyes, a war in his chest. He plays his cards and burns the rest. Smoky man bad, they cry, they shout. Smoky man bad, but he snuffs them out with a flick of his wrist, a puff of his plan. He laughs through the hay. Smoky man bad. The air is thick with his nicotine fog. He sharpens his words like a butcher's saw. Progress is fragile like glass in his grip. He crushes it slow, takes another hit. Smoky man bad, they cry, they shout. Smoky man bad, but he snuffs them out with a flick of his wrist, a puff of his plan. He laughs through the hay. Smoky man bad. He's a matchstick prophet, a sinner saint. The left can't handle the pictures he paints. Through the flames and the smoke he cuts the air. A villain, a hero, he just doesn't care. Smoky man bad, they cry, they shout. Smoky man bad, but he snuffs them out with a flick of his wrist, a puff of his plan. He laughs through the hay. Smoky man bad.
We're almost ready, guys. Mystery, play waves for me. They came in waves.
I think I have that in here. I do not.
What do you mean? What do you mean you don't have it in here?
It's not in the studio thing here. I'm just gonna do Wake Up.
No. I want waves. That's an L for you, Mystery.
Yeah, well, if you give me a minute, I'll be able to pull it up.
Well, then I'll give you a minute.
But so pick another song in the meantime. I guess this one.
Good song.
He walked into the room, what a piece of trash. He's already costing Andrew a ton of cash. Mystery they called him, but it didn't fit. Every move he made turned gold to grit. Oops, he did it again. Oops, he ruined the plan. So now he's Mr. L. Everything's lost. Oh well, when he's around, things fail. Call him Mr. L. Tried fixing a show with a bucket of hope. Tried cooking a liberal, but that was a nope. Mystery no more, the name couldn't stay. Mr. L's the title for his grand disarray. Oops, he's at it again. Oops, chaos is his friend. Now he's Mr. L. Everything's lost. Oh well, when he's around, things fail. Call him Mr. L.
You have my song yet, Mr. L?
He's Mr. L. Everything's lost. Oh well, when he's around, things fail.
Yes, I do.
Call him
Play the song I wanted.
Mr. L.
What a prick. There we go.
came in waves, a digital tide.
There, how you
The
like that?
lunatic mind, it's tick-tock time. Fingers scrolling, the souls turn gray. The crucible rises, it's judgment day. They twist the knife, they abort all life. The tick-tock empire does it all for love. Not one step back. We hold the line. Total victory. It's invasion time. The battle cries. The signal's clear. We'll fight this fight. Make all of tick-tock fear. Feminists in the glow of a flickering screen, selling a dream that's cheap and obscene, marching for a culture's demise, but we will expose their hollow lies. They build their walls, but we will brawl. The invasion comes. Tick-tock will fall. Not one step back. We hold the line. Total victory. It's invasion time. The battle cries. The signal's clear. We'll fight this fight.
Let's get this show moving.
Tick-tock will feed.
Can we get the show moving now, Mr. L? I guess not. Who knows what he's doing? Who the fuck knows what he's doing? Who? I mean, honestly, who the hell knows? Maybe he got up and decided he would take a walk in the middle of us doing a show. Who knows? Who does? Nobody has any idea where he is.
Yeah, who knows? Where did that guy go?
Yeah, no clue where he went. So anyway, full screen, please, Mr. L.
All right.
Try and do a monologue here. Fucking mystery. This guy.
Sorry.
Fucking killing me today, mystery.
No, it's all good. You got it.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AW Live tonight. Sorry, I've been off the last few days. I needed to take a few days and catch up on some rest and sleep, man. I've been going nonstop and just really haven't had any breaks. And even over the Christmas holiday, I'm going to let staff go, to enjoy a couple of weeks with their families and friends and pay them for that, but I'll still be working. So I wanted to take a couple of days and just do a little R&R, and it was pretty nice. It's pretty nice to do that every once in a while, just get a little bit of rest and relaxation in. So yeah, I've been doing that, and that's been fantastic. But anyway, a lot of stuff going on right now. The infighting, the influencer civil war on the right has reached its peak at the moment. The players who are involved here appear to be Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, and various others who are all in a kind of massive internal battle, all of them gunning kind of at each other and TPUSA. And, not all of them are gunning specifically at each other. Tim Pool and Steven Crowder, for instance, and Fuentes, I don't think they're gunning at each other, but a lot of people gunning for Candace Owens at the moment. And this fight is kind of heating up. Interestingly enough, the debate which happened between Piers Morgan and Nick Fuentes today, which is somewhat historical for a reason. Here you get to see two very distinct dialectics that are going at it. And you don't see this very often between these particular worldviews. Morgan representing the old MSM and old guard thought process. You could say the boomer process, but that's not really it. It's the old MSM and the way that they used to do interviews and things like this up against new media and new commentators. It's interesting to watch, mostly because of this dialectic difference. It's when people were watching this, they were both interested and horrified at the same time because this kind of MSM stylistic, it's been dead for a while. And Piers Morgan kind of went with it for the interview style, which ended up being somewhat reminiscent of the Bloodsport debates. The reason that this ended up not being perhaps the best stylistic for Piers to go down, Fuentes came out of the old Bloodsports era, the old Bloodsport Warski Live debate era. These guys were throwing everything at each other you could possibly throw and then some as part of both entertainment, but also as part of their debate structure. So this was kind of old hat for Fuentes, who's done a million of these. So it didn't end up kind of having the gotcha effect that I think Morgan wanted ultimately. But we're going to go in to this debate and we're going to watch it from the beginning. I'm going to try to cover as much of it as possible. I understand the audience is going to have a lot to say. We'll probably end up in little micro debates right here on the show tonight, which I'm fine with. So let's pull it up, Mr. E.
It's on that basis that I've invited him to appear live and uncensored on my platform. And Nick Fuentes joins me now. Nick Fuentes, welcome to Uncensored.
Hi, great to be with you.
I don't know you.
Fuentes knows. You can kind of look at him and he seems like he's in the know. He knows what's coming here.
I don't think we've ever met. You can correct me if that's wrong. I know about you. I know that increasingly people are talking about you in a more mainstream environment than you may be used to. So for those who know nothing about Nick Fuentes, I want this to be an opportunity to get to the real person. I don't know who that.
Morgan early on, he's setting the stage here for this. His claim throughout the entirety of this debate view, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is that there is two different Nick Fuenteses. There is the forward-facing media Nick Fuentes, and that particular Fuentes is a person who is trying to put his best foot forward. And then the second Nick Fuentes is the real Fuentes who runs his show America First. This is what Morgan hammers on over and over and over to try to get this mask off moment. That's what the goal of this entire interview / debate really was. So Morgan is setting the stage for us now by explaining this.
That person is, but I do want to use this opportunity to get there. I've seen you talk as we prepared for this in exchanges with people and on your show, saying you fear it's going to be very hostile, it's going to be an ambush, all those kind of things. I don't intend it to be overtly hostile. I don't intend to ambush you. I intend.
So he says Nick's been telling people that this is going to be a hostile ambush. Well,
it to be an examination of what you said on the record, an examination of what you believe or what you say you believe, and an examination of what your rising popularity says about the state of the conservative movement in America. So those are my goals from this interview. What are your goals? Why are you doing it?
I thought it'd be interesting. And, you've talked a lot about me on your show over the years, and this is the first time you actually extended the invitation. I think it might be the second, actually. I think we talked about doing it during A24 a few years ago.
Somebody in the chat brings up a point. He says, I trust journalists more than influencers. I don't know exactly why. I'm actually not sure anymore why. The lines have been so blurred now that it seems like almost all media and journalists have a bias and an agenda. It seems that influencers are at least honest about it.
But you've talked a lot about me with the panel, and now you've extended the invitation to talk to me. And I think it'd be interesting for me to maybe clarify some positions and maybe get to know you a little better as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
There is a belief that you have two personas. There's one that you roll out now for podcasts and for shows like mine, where you come across as reasonable. And then there's your show on Rumble, where you often come across as having, a very unreasonable view on things. This is what Coleman Hughes said about you.
Nick Fuentes knows exactly what he's doing. He is consciously playing this double game as part of a long-term strategy to become popular enough to take the reins of power, at which point he plans to pivot towards the extreme and unpopular policies that he advocates daily on Rumble.
If you might wonder why this sounds so familiar, this particular attack, right? It's because it was the same one they used on Trump. For those of you who don't remember, the lead up to the latest Trump election was once he gets elected, he's going to be moving towards this, agenda, whatever, what was it, Agenda 21 or this type of thing. He's going to be moving towards the extremist position. He's just trying to get power so that he can become emperor. And then that's when you'll see the extremism hit, right? So the whole idea here, it's all well poisoning right from the gate. Whole thing right from the gate is well poisoning right away. I trust people that have logical arguments or logical positions based on actual facts. Journalists are corrupt across the board. I don't even trust Fox. Yeah, I get it.
So first of all, what is your response to that?
Well, first of all, I would say that Coleman Hughes is a propagandist. He works for the Free Press, which is run by Barry Weiss. So I think you have to consider the source. And Barry Weiss is a pro-Israel partisan. Free Press is just bought out by CBS for $150 million by Larry Ellison or his son, David Ellison. And so I think that's coming from a particular point of view. We can't pretend like that's coming from a vacuum or from some fixed position. That's coming from a propaganda outlet that's in favor of Israel. That's first. But second, I would say he is right about the two personas. And I think that everybody understands this on some level. On my show, I make jokes and I use rhetoric and I'm hyperbolic because for a long time, I had an audience that was small on these like dissident platforms. I was on D Live for many years. A lot of people don't even know what that is. And so I had a small following and we had sort of like an in-group sense of humor and memes and things like that. And you talk about it one way on a freewheeling live stream when I'm by myself and I'm ranting and we make jokes and we play devil's advocate, we play with different positions. But then when you sit down in an interview like this one and people ask me a good faith question, what do you actually believe? Well, then I clarify and I say, well, here I'm not joking. Here I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not being rhetorical. I'll tell you precisely what I believe. As far as this idea that I'm going to get power and then turn into Hitler, that just sounds totally insane to me.
So Fuentes here summarized, right, as he's putting this together, he says, look, maybe it is true that there's two of me here. But you have to understand that the one show, right, I have an audience which has carried over for years who know all the inside jokes and memes and things like this. And so I'm talking to them during many of these rants and this type of thing. When I'm on a podcast, they want me to actually give my positions. I'm going to be much more straightforward with what those positions are when we're not trolling or messing around or things like this, right? Journalist equals influencer. Journalists try to use the news as a cover to pretend to be neutral. The government wouldn't use them otherwise.
Be honest, it just sounds insane.
Do you have aspirations for political power?
Not really. I think that if I wanted to run for office, I wouldn't say a lot of the things that I say. I don't know that a lot of people would vote for me. I tend to offend everybody, even a lot of people that like me. So no, I'm a truth teller. I like to tell the truth. I like to do my live stream.
Who is Nick Fuentes? Tell me about your upbringing. I know you grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. Tell me about your early years.
Or early how? Like my childhood or a little bit
your
later?
childhood, yeah.
Well, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago in LaGrange Park, as you say. My parents are ethnics. My father's half Mexican, half Irish. My mother's Italian. And they both came from a pretty rough upbringing themselves. They both were raised by single mothers, not because of divorce, but because both of their fathers had died. They endured a lot of dysfunction. And I think that's one of the reasons they came together and they related to each other and they wanted to create a normal upbringing for their children. They wanted to have a normal family life. And so they moved out to LaGrange Park away from the city. And they raised me and my sister and really put us first. I think that's a big reason why I tend to have a lot of these family values or Christian values. My mother quit her job and stayed at home to raise us. And so I have a very close relationship with my parents, with my sister. We're a very tight family. And we grew up in a pretty idyllic town. And maybe we can sort of get into a conversation about politics from this. I loved my upbringing. My mom stayed at home. My dad was working. We're in a mostly white suburb in Chicago. Everybody was maybe half Catholic, half Protestant. It was a baseball town. I played baseball for many years. In Chicago, we love our hot dogs. We have our baseball parade and get a hot dog. And so I love where I came from. I love the city. It's a working class city. I love the people here. They're very good, humble, down to earth, decent people. And I guess I had my political, not to jump ahead, but this is a big part of where my political awakening came from. I sort of left this.
So I know for some people, they find this type of stuff very interesting, like a person's backstory, how they grew up, what informed their views and things like this. I don't give a shit. I'm only interested in what a person's arguing, right? I really only care about what it is that they're arguing, the position that they're arguing from, things like this. I get it. I understand that there's an emotional aspect that people have. They become very tied up with the emotional aspect of people who they're interested in. And so they get very curious about that kind of stuff. But for me personally, I don't give a shit. Like you could have skipped this entire part of of kind of the backstory or whatever and just dove into the positions, and I would have been just fine with that. This seems like it's a very kind of traditional tactic of trying to soften up opposition before you start peppering them to me. Pierce was underprepared for Nick. There's a big difference between someone who came up doing blood sports versus the TikToker he's used to that don't have their mute button. Yeah. Well, look, I won't take this away from Fuentes. He came out of the blood sports debate era. I mean, that's where he really got his start. And he was an excellent debater then. He's an excellent debater now. I don't think that he was moving into hostile territory and was unprepared for it at all. I don't think that he was. I think that if he could have made a prediction, if he did make a prediction, I'm guessing that the prediction was just like this. It's going to be just like this.
Bubble, if you could call it that. When I went to college in 2016, I went to Boston University and I read a lot of things online and I realized the country does not look like LaGrange Park. It doesn't look like Western Springs or Hinsdale or Elmhurst. It looks very different. The country's undergoing a radical transformation because of immigration. And so I saw that and I said, this is not really a desirable change. I don't like the south side of Chicago or the west side or LA or certain parts of Boston as much as I like where I came from. And I guess that's what made me an American nationalist. I said, I want to preserve my home and the things that are familiar to me and the things I like about my home, what makes it America. So that's a little bit about my background. I don't know where you want to go with that, but that's kind of where I came from.
My first obvious question is, were your parents immigrants to the United States, or were their parents, or were they grandparents? In other words, at some stage, I presume there were immigrants in your family who came to the US. Is that correct?
There were. I believe my mother was fourth generation and my father was third generation. So their ancestors came here on my mom's side in the 1860s, I believe, the first wave of Italian immigration. My father's ancestors, I think they came around at the turn of the century in 1900.
So your view of immigration, and we'll get to the specifics about your views on immigration. Are they not affected at all by the fact that if it wasn't for immigration, you wouldn't exist?
So now we get to our first argument, right? It took all this time so we could get to an actual fucking argument. So Morgan here, he unrolls a very traditional leftist critique. Very, very, very traditional progressive critique. If you have or you come from a line of immigrants, all right, then how dare you criticize mass migration to your nation? Even more, they reduce this to everybody here ultimately is an immigrant because this was Native American land. It's a very, very common critique among progressives, and it's fucking stupid. Ultimately, it's a very stupid critique, and here's why. It doesn't matter. Everybody everywhere could be argued to be immigrants at some point or from a lineage of immigrants at some point. That's not what makes a nation a nation. The demographic of people who immigrate to a country within the third generation, that is their nation, it is up to them what they do with it, what the collective soul of that nation does with their country, because that's what it is now. It's that people group who are there. They're the ones who are on the land, and they're the ones who are settling the resources. They're the ones who defend it. Ultimately, it's up to them what they want to do with it. The idea that you can criticize them because, well, you immigrated here, your ancestors did at some point, therefore you have to let everybody in, is the dumbest critique ever. Progressives make it constantly. Constantly, they make this criticism. And they can't really even give you a year by because they'll just move it back further, right? And you could be like, well, you know, my ancestors came here 100 years ago, let's say. And they say, well, 500 years ago, you know, this was all land of Native Americans, which was stolen. And of course, you can reduce that back on their position too. You can say, okay, well, immigrants came or Indians came here via an Asian land bridge as immigrants, and they started taking land. So what made it theirs? This gets into a terrible reductio. And it's a terrible fucking argument. And I was actually kind of surprised that Morgan hit him with this particular argument out of the gate. It's a very, very old critique, and it never stands up to logical muster. It never does, ever.
As an American.
Well, I would certainly exist, but like you said, maybe not as an American. Certainly that's influenced in some measure. But I think that the kind of immigration that we had for a long time in the country, it's different than the immigration that we have now. And let's just say for openers, it's different immigrants. They're coming from a different place with a different culture, a different religion. It's not the same as it was. So first, you have a qualitative difference. My ancestors, for the most part, I have 3 European grandparents from Ireland and Italy, 1 from Mexico. They came from Europe. They came from a society where there's a common ancestry, there's a common religion, common civilization. The people that have come in since 65, since Hart-Celler, they're coming from China, India, the Northern Triangle, Mexico, Venezuela. And so first, they're just different people. Secondly, it's a quantitative difference. There's way more, and it's an unceasing, always increasing wave.
So Fuentes is really beginning this off with descriptive rather than prescriptive arguments. So he starts by saying, I think that you're kind of mischaracterizing what's going on here. The first is, as he points out, it's a qualitative difference. So he's saying, look, immigrants from some places are clearly better for your nation than immigrants from other places. That's his start. He's saying this is a descriptive truth. The second is that he's pointing out that when he says quantitative, he's like, look, it's a whole hell of a lot more than what we used to take on, which you could maybe feasibly make an argument from a progressive standpoint that if you take on immigrants, at least to a lesser degree, let's say maybe only 50,000 or 100,000 a year or something like that, it's much easier to absorb them into the nation's fabric over time than it is to be bringing in 1 million or 1.5 million a year or more. And so what he's kind of starting with is laying the groundwork for the descriptive argument first. So he's disagreeing with Morgan, not right now on the substance of any sort of prescription. He's just saying there's a distinction in the descriptive way that I view this problem than you view this problem, which is fair. This is fair for him to set his paradigm down against Morgan's paradigm.
For the first 3 or 4 waves of immigration, you would have a major influx of immigrants and then it would stop. And then you'd have another wave and then it would stop. This one, it just keeps going up for 35 years. And it's too many. So that's really where I would draw the distinction between maybe where I originate from. I would even just simply call that immigration. What this is an invasion. It's a completely different policy.
But you
can't
mentioned
even call it the same
but
thing.
you mentioned Mexico in that list, and your father is half Mexican. So
Yeah.
I mean, by your criteria, part of the invasion would include your father, presumably, and his immediate descendants who came from Mexico.
Again, this is a terrible criticism, this argument. So we're back to this. So the idea is, well, you come from immigrants yourself. You wouldn't even be here had family members of yours not immigrated into the United States. So the problem is like you have to pick up where it is that you start, right? You have to pick up where you start. Fuentes, it's no fault of his how he was born or in what conditionals he was born into. He couldn't pick his parents. He couldn't pick his region, his demographics. He couldn't pick any of this. This was completely left up to a much higher power than him or I, right? So he's you can't like throw at his feet what the conditionals were of his heritage. That's a thing no man can control. What you have to lay at his feet instead is what his positions and propositions are in regards to any of these things that he's talking about. You can't just lay into him for this idea that, well, you're of mixed heritage yourself. That makes no sense. And the reason it's not a good argument is because you could just kind of levy this about anything that you wanted, couldn't you? Oh, you don't like the prison food, but you eat the prison food. How could you make complaints about prison food when you're eating the prison food? It's like, well, I still have to eat it because I'm here in prison, but that doesn't mean that I like it or don't want it to change. This is the same idea that you would be looking at from the Fuentes position here on immigration. Doesn't matter if I come from immigrants. What matters is that I have the position that, generally speaking, this is very bad for the fabric of the nation which I live in. That's a completely fair argument, by the way. So, as far as argument assessment, Fuentes so far is the only one who looks like he's making one. Morgan is relying very, very heavily on rhetoric here. The rhetoric of, but you come from immigrants. What about that, huh? It's like, well, what does that have to do with anything? That has nothing to do with the proposition at all. Number one should have been his ancestors were legal immigrants, not illegal immigrants. The way someone enters the country is very important. So I disagree with this. It doesn't actually matter if let us assume for a moment hypothetically that both of Nick's parents were like illegal immigrants. We'll just assume it for a moment for the purpose of the hypothetical. So fucking what? And let's say he was an anchor baby who got citizenship because he was just born here. Who gives a shit? That has no bearing or merit on his argument at all. None. Zero bearing whatsoever on his argument.
Not really true, because when my father's ancestors came here, it was a small fraction of the total immigrants that came from Mexico. I don't believe that we should have zero immigrants forever or even zero immigrants from non-white countries. But you have to draw the distinction. My father's father, he was here in the 40s and 50s. It was his parents, or I believe either his parents or grandparents, that came here even earlier. Up until 1965, 90% of the immigrants were coming from Europe. I have no problem with that. If we have 10% of them coming from Mexico or Latin America, maybe that's reasonable, but that's not what it is now. Now you've got 10 million illegals in 4 years under Joe Biden, and you got millions more legal immigrants from China, India, Venezuela, El Salvador. And it's so many with no break for assimilation, and they're all from non-white countries. It's transforming what America is. And again, that's the distinction. That's what makes it unacceptable.
I always believe everybody is a product of their environment. Right? I've interviewed thousands of people. Maybe 3, 4, 5,000 people.
What the fuck does that have to do with what Fuentes just said? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? What is he talking about? What? So Fuentes is laying out his worldview. I think he's expecting a counter argument here. So like Destiny, I would guess, would be laying into Fuentes here about why the arbitrary, why are the arbitrary nature if you want them to come from Europe versus these other nations or things like that. Seemingly, I would expect that that would be where the dive in would be to get at, his descriptive claims of what it is that he sees as an issue or not an issue, right? Haven't even gotten into a proposition about what should be done or shouldn't be done, just descriptive claims. But Piers responds with some shit about you being a product of your. What the fuck does that have to do with anything this guy just said? What the fuck does that have to do with anything Nick just said? What? What the fuck does that have? What is he talking about? Listen to this. This makes no sense as a lead in here.
Father's ancestors came here, it was a small fraction of the total immigrants that came from Mexico. I don't believe that we should have zero immigrants forever or even zero immigrants from non-white countries. But you have to draw the distinction. My father's father, he was here in the 40s and 50s. It was his parents, or I believe either his parents or grandparents, that came here.
Hang on. Let me fast forward a little bit.
From all different walks.
Here we go.
America is. And again, that's the distinction. That's what makes it unacceptable.
So he gives out this description of what he sees as being issues in the U.S. And then Morgan.
I always believe everybody is a product of their environment, right?
What? This has nothing to do with. It's just like nothing to do with anything at all.
I've interviewed thousands of people. Maybe 3, 4, 5,000 people from all different walks of life. But the one common theme I would say is everyone's a product of their environment. And I was reading some stuff about you in the last few days. There was an episode of your podcast where you talked about your father, Bill Fuentes, and how he wouldn't take the family, including you, to certain restaurants because he believed they were associated with African Americans. We would be.
Now, this would put me immediately on defense. Okay, immediately on defense. And Fuentes mentions this later in the interview. He's attacked essentially for not having a wife and kids and things like this. And he says his basic response is like, look, actually it would put people who I love in danger, especially if I had a wife and children. And I can relate. Okay? I can relate. In a big way, I can relate. Because 95% of the pathways for the attack of me are attempted through my family as well. Almost all of them, in fact. The politics of personal destruction usually starts by attacking people who you care about. And it's a leverage game. And it's also, I consider it something akin to blackmail. It's very akin to blackmail. And if I were in Nick's shoes for this particular interview, and Piers says my father's name out loud, that would put me on defense. That would make me think that that he's utilizing some sort of leverage here in this case, right? You can't really say it's doxing, but something which is moving akin to trying to bring that that part of your life into the main fray, so that then that part can be attacked through family. And that I understand exactly. I would be very defensive at this point where I in Nick's shoes. Like, why are we talking about my father here and you're naming him? And why? Why are you doing that?
Deciding where to go to eat, you said. What are we going to do for dinner tonight? It was a running joke. Me and my sister would say Applebee's, and my dad would say we would never eat at Applebee's. Not in a million years should you be caught dead, Fuentes said about Applebee's. Go to a different restaurant, a local restaurant. No Applebee's, no Red Lobster. That is commonly known as black fare. And you also...
Photosend says, Piers really nails Nick on the specifics of his past statements. Nick visibly tenses as he realizes he can't dodge the disgustingness of his own words. Well, we'll dive in and see what we see here as the debate progresses. Now, I enjoy going on Piers Morgan's show. I enjoy arguing and this type of thing. And I'm here purely because I wanted to do an analysis because I found the exchange between these two particular dialectics to be extremely interesting. Right? That's what I found. I just found it to be particularly interesting. Hang on a second. I hope you bring this up next time you're on Uncensored because naming his father live was deliberate and dangerous, especially after Kirk. Wasn't not a fan of that. I don't know like what the purpose for that was exactly. Um, but you can see the flag kind of Fuentes is now looking through him. He's like, okay, there's something going on here. What the fuck what are you fucking leading to here? You know?
Share another story about your family and restaurants. It said, before me and my sister were born, my family had a saying about Olive Garden that contains the N word that we're not allowed to say. So my question, based on that anecdote that you say on your own podcast, is do you think you grew up in a racist environment, that your father was inherently racist, and that thought process moved to you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did Nick's parents not like to take him to fucking places which were filled to the brim with dangerous human beings? You know. Well, I guess my dad's fucking guilty too. Then, you know, it turns out my father loved me a lot. He was a very, very good dad, a very, very kind man, still is to this day. He also did not like taking me to places um, where there was a huge diversity of people there because, well, fights broke out and problems would be had all the fucking time. And when I was a little kid, of course, he avoided places like that, like the fucking plague. Oh no. Uh-oh. And let me tell you a dirty secret. Pierce's dad would have too. Okay, Pierce's dad would have too. And I'll pretend that that's not the case, but give me a fucking break with this shit. Ref Lobster stopped unlimited $20 shrimpies. I've heard that. I don't know if it's true or not, but some cultures are inferior. Seems hard to understand crayons. Right. Like we don't want to be importing people who are cannibals. That seems like a really bad idea. Shout out to the best channel, best chat, best members, best content on the internet. It's a beautiful thing y'all have created, Andrew. I agree. It is a fantastic channel. Welcome, everybody, this fine evening. Glad to have all of you here. It's a weak tactic that Morgan puts out to try and throw Fuentes off his game and bring it back to racism. Well, here, look, his dad sounds to me like he was a responsible human being, honestly. I mean, look, is that crazy? Is that crazy that, you know, your parents whose entire job is to try to look after your health and well-being, don't take you to places which could potentially be dangerous? You know, they can just, very potentially be extremely dangerous, and so they avoid it like the plague. I get it. I understand it. Pierce asked 5,000. What the fuck? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, bro. I don't even understand the question. I don't know what you're asking. This whole thing was like watching your friend get scolded by the teacher and trying not to laugh. Pierce just demonstrated how out of touch boomers are. Well, I think you should be cautious. While you may disagree vehemently with Morgan and his analysis here, to the older guard, and they are still the people who are in charge of the nation, like it or not, he does come off making a lot of sense. So I would caution you into thinking that that you've overridden the boomer media because they're still quite popular with boomers, and boomers are still very much in charge around here, like it or not. I avoid those places, and I'm black. Yeah. I understand. Okay, I get it. Piers was using the tabula rasa as products of their environment any immigrant will assimilate. So any critique of them is de facto racism. I see. I understand now what you're saying. Yeah, I understand where he's going with it, the product of an environment assimilation thing. But I can tell you that I could probably come up with some great criticisms here against this particular argument very quickly. Total devil's advocate. Piers is poking the bear, absolutely. But the reason why he's asking questions he's asking is because he's trying to ask questions that Nick hasn't been asked before. I think that you would be surprised to note that Nick's views have been on trial all the way back to the Bloodsport debate days. He had many now very infamous, sealed infamous debates with one said Coomer Gremlin Stephen Bonnell the third or second or third, fourth. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Stephen Bonnell. You guys would know him as Destiny, the the cocksucker Destiny, literal cocksucker. Okay. He had many infamous debates with him and other progressives on these issues, and most of these points were brought up years ago. So I don't see how Piers is really breaking any new grounds here. The idea, the kind of old meme used against Fuentes, which is, hey, he's Hispanic and he's trying to represent whites, or things like this. These are old hat criticisms. These are nothing new at all. Third generation from Mexico here. Pierce would have called my dad and grandfather racist if he considered that racism. Exactly. I think that that's the case for most people. I think that's the case for most people. My dad actually loved me. He cared a lot about me, and I think that he wanted to see me be protected from environments that he deemed potentially dangerous as well. You can say that that's racist, but I'm damn glad he did that for me. You say boomer media is in charge as the legacy media death rattles. It's not what I said. Listen to the words that I actually say, not the ones you put in my mouth. I said boomers are in charge. Didn't say shit about boomer media being in charge. I said boomers are in charge. Do you understand the distinction now between the two things that I'm saying? Chicago Waffle Houses have bulletproof glass separating the kitchen and armed security. Piers is just disingenuous. Well, he also doesn't really understand the culture of the nation very well. When's the last time Piers has been to Popeyes or a Waffle House at nighttime? I mean, I've been to a Waffle House. Well, I don't remember what the trip was we were on, but we went to a Waffle House and it was fine. There wasn't any problems there, but it depends again regionally and demographically where you're at. I'm sure many of you have eaten at Waffle Houses too. The fucking food is good, if you like that kind of shit, right? It's pretty good. And I've eaten there. I haven't had much in the way of issues in that regard. But I think it depends on where you are, right? It's actually nice to see Nick appear on legacy media, where he has otherwise been blacklisted for a long time, from what I recall. He usually comes up, from time to time with legacy media, but usually there's an effigy and they're attacking the effigy. I remember one time Nick came out and said that all he really ever wanted was the right of response, meaning he just wanted the opportunity to be able to face his accusers. And the more that I've gotten into media streaming, the more I really understand that position. Because, man, I would love to drag half these fuckers who talk shit, but just to even do it in some cases elevates them. And in other cases, there's no point to it because the attacks are bad faith anyway. And so you basically just have to you just got to put up with it. And it sucks, right? Hey, Andrew, don't feel one way or the other about Nick. My issue is Conservative Inc. trying to gatekeep people from listening to him. It's backfired spectacularly, and I'm hoping Nick's appearance gives them an L. Well, that's true. There's no kind of ifs, ands, or buts about that. The chatter points out something here which is very important. He's like, look, um, the fact of the matter is that by blacklisting him and other people like him, their popularity actually ended up soaring. And the reason is they said, why are they trying to shut me up? It's because I'm saying things that make too much sense, right? That's what their kind of defense is for why they were blacklisted. And that has a lot of major appeal to people. And they built their own systems, their own streaming networks, their own everything external of the mainstream ones, and kind of built themselves an argument or an audience from the darkness. And now they're moving into the light and, they're prepared for all of the liberal progressive smears and propaganda. And it seems like the progressives are not prepared for them. They got a little too comfortable just snapping their fingers and somebody disappeared. That doesn't work that way anymore. And they don't exactly know what the fuck they're supposed to do about it. At some point, they're going to have to actually engage with arguments. Notice how we say our dads wanted to protect us. These single mothers wouldn't mind going to these places because they don't want to hurt feelings. Well, it depends on who you're talking about. Again, it depends on who you're talking about. But I understand the type of person you're talking about there. Don't let Jake forget that Rachel Maddow. I didn't know that there was a Rachel Maddow. Anyway, let's keep going here, guys.
Well, I would say it's a new low. I've been
All right, here's what we're going to do, because otherwise we'll get bogged down and won't be able to get through the debate. I do appreciate you guys sending in the super chats, and I appreciate the support to the channel as always, but they got to be 20 or above for me to read them tonight, okay?
attacked for being a racist many times, but to attack my father, to attack my parents based on anecdotes, I would say that's sort of a new low.
Hang on, it's your anecdote.
Yeah, but he's not here to defend himself.
You are.
And my parents are.
You told the story.
And I will. And I'll
I'm not trying
them.
to ambush you. As I said at the start, Nick, to be clear.
No, it's not an ambush.
Nick, to be clear,
I think
I'm not
understands.
ambushing you. I'm literally reading an anecdote that you revealed on your podcast. It's you that's put it in the public domain.
I know.
I'm simply asking you whether my assessment of that, which is that your father didn't want to take you to certain restaurants because of what you refer to as, they were commonly known as black fare, whether that attitude to African Americans in that instance permeated to you. It's a reasonable question.
This question, you fucking people. Andrew, do you like Nick? It's none of your fucking business. Okay? It's not your concern. It's completely irrelevant to the analysis. Do you understand? Totally fucking irrelevant to the analysis, how I personally feel about things one way or the other. One thing I've tried to impart to this audience more than anything else is just not be fucking stupid. Just don't be fucking stupid. My personal feelings on a subject or topic or person or individual or things like that are completely irrelevant to the analysis of the arguments that that person makes. It's not fucking relevant. So, don't be fucking stupid. Just stop being stupid. It's completely irrelevant. Same thing. You could ask the same thing about Piers Morgan. Do you like Piers Morgan? Completely fucking irrelevant to the analysis.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think everybody knows what that is, but I'll address it. I'll engage with it, and I'll defend my father from the charge of racism.
Sure.
No, my parents are not racist, and they've never been racist. I'll tell you about my parents. They used to have a school in Chicago in the South Loop where they instructed people on how to shoot firearms. It was a security school, and most of the clients were black. And I believe actually one of their clients was Larry Hoover's son at one point, sort of a funny story. And so most of their clients would come in from the South side of Chicago. My grandmother, she grew up in the projects in the city. And so my family being in Chicago, being ethnics, being Italian, Irish, Mexican in the West Side on Taylor Street, all over the city. My family for many generations have lived near and around black people. And look, my views about black people and their views about black people are shaped with experiences with black people. And what they will tell you, what my parents would say if they were here, is that for many, many years, the older generations of black people were very respectful, very humble, very decent. In fact, my grandma used to have an anecdote. She grew up in a lot of dysfunction. Her mother was mentally ill, and they would be having dinner in the projects, and there'd be so much chaos and dysfunction and disagreement and fighting. And she would look across the way out the window at a black family in the other apartment, and they'd be holding hands around the table saying grace. And this is sort of the culture that used to prevail. But now what you have in the city.
Now, these aren't really arguments that Fuentes is putting forward, but neither is Piers. Piers is just, both of them right now are being somewhat anecdotal. Piers starts with, it's my belief that people are shaped by this and this and this and this. And Fuentes is saying, well, as far as products of environment, let me explain to you what I think informs my views about the various products of environment of my family. We're not getting to anything which is particularly meaty on the bone here anyway for arguments yet. Your words and what you say is perfect. Man, you're the best at what you do. Been watching for a few years and you're the best out there. Well, I appreciate that. It's very kind of you to say. You say you don't give advice to people, but yet advise them not to be stupid. Interesting. What a hypocrite. Actually, again, as usual, my words taken completely out of context, even after I clarified them. What I said specifically was, I think it's irresponsible to give advice to people unless it's basic. I literally showed the clip in my response video. It's irresponsible to give advice to people unless it's basic. So what do I mean by basic? Okay, so here's some, for instance, hey man, I don't think that you should cook that hot dog over the fire with your bare hands. That is technically advice. Okay. And I'm advising you not to do that. But it's also very basic advice, right? So as long as it's basic, I think that it's fine. I think that don't be stupid is also basic advice as well. Just saying.
City is that there's no accountability for the black people. And now Chicago has become a complete dump because these teenagers go out and they take over the city. They call them teen takeover.
Why is it, Andrew, that someone needs to give you $20 to get a response from you? It's called greed, sir. Are you familiar with the term greed? You see, I want for you, the audience who's listening to my silky, smooth, velvety voice giving this debate analysis, to feel so impressed by my mere presence that you can't help but dip into your wallet and hand me some of your hard-earned money. Now, for you, this is going to be a concept chatter, because you're an untalented fucking tard. And because of that, nobody will ever reach into their wallet to hand you any sort of money unless you're punching out for the day. But for some of us on the talented end of the spectrum, we can just do that shit and there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing.
Overs. That's the euphemism for it. They're teenagers, but they all come from the same neighborhood. They drive up there and they mug people and attack people and they destroy cars and destroy shops. We had the Festival of Lights a couple of weeks ago. It's supposed to be a family event. And they light up the trees and there's a big parade. I was in the parade one year and you had a bunch of black people there shooting each other. 7 people shot, a 14-year-old killed in the Magnificent Mile. And I know there's a lot of black people that feel the same way about this. They say, we've lost control of the city and we're looking for accountability. We have a lot of black people that are always outraged about racism, outraged about attitudes from white people, but they're never ashamed of some of these behaviors, never ashamed of some of the things that go on. And that's why I think there's a lot of negative attitudes these days. And so, again, I think those attitudes, you say I'm a product of my environment. I am. And so are my parents and my grandparents. Unlike you, because you're not even American, in Chicago, we have to live in a big, diverse city where there's a lot of different kinds of people. And I think anybody in Chicago will tell you the same.
So the ultimate breakdown here is they're both utilizing anecdotes. Fuentes ultimately agreeing with Piers, sure, I'm a product of my environment. But here's the experiences collectively me and my family have had. And since we're just speaking from experience, you can't really argue against that. That's it. As far as arguments go, neither side has a compelling argument because they're not making arguments at this point. They're in discussion mode in this portion. They're not in debate mode just yet. Listen to all your debates at work. You're funny as hell, man, my hero. Keep doing what you're doing, Andrew. Dave from Ireland. Well, thank you, Dave from Ireland. Very kind of you to send in that 5. I know I said I wasn't going to read anything unless it was over 20, but I really wanted to piss that other chatter off. For the grift, Smoky Man separates feelings from logic. Smoky Man, good. Feelings equal woman prattle. Generally speaking, that's the case.
I live in London. It's one of the biggest and most diverse cities in the world.
But it's not the same.
Well, actually, it's a big, diverse city. The only difference is we don't have the gun violence because we don't have guns. That's a whole different story. I don't want to get into that with you.
Well, I mean, that's a fucking L take from my view. That's an L fucking take immediately. I've always hated Morgan's viewpoints on firearms, especially in the United States. The entire culture is informed and formed with this attitude of fuck off, specifically because we're all armed to the teeth. It's at the greatest American pastime, I believe, the one which should be protected above all others. If I had to choose between the right to speech or the right to be armed, I still would take the right to be armed, I think.
I have got into that before
You
in
got
America.
a knife problem. You got sword problems.
We have problems
You
with
have Aladdin.
We have problems with violent crime. I make no pretense of it. So the idea that somehow I'm cosseted in London because I'm not in Chicago.
I didn't say that.
Well, you kind of implied it, but I guess my point about the environment, I'm not saying you are a product of your environment. I'm saying most people are in some capacity. When I read that anecdote, which just to remind you, it's not something I have put out there. You told this story, right? And you said that
You said this. We're looping. You said this already.
But you haven't really directly, I think, responded to it, which is whether your father would not take you to certain restaurant chains because he associated them with black Americans. Is that true?
No, well, see here, if you're in America, you would say that Olive Garden is not real Italian food. Applebee's, TGI Fridays, this stuff is a load of crap. My dad was just a food snob, but no, it's got nothing to do with that. My best friend in first grade was a black guy. We're not a racist family. So
okay, so when you told
no.
the story, I'm just curious. So when you told that anecdote, which clearly on the face of it is racist, right? You're basically saying your father made racist decisions about where you would go as a family to eat. Are you saying, well, I'm just going to ask you a question. Are you saying that when you told that story, you didn't mean to infer that he was racist? And do you understand why when somebody like me reads that anecdote for the first time, as I did this week, I reach a different conclusion?
You know, probably one of the more interesting parts here of this particular exchange between Nick and Piers. Piers's argument seems to be that because Nick's dad tended to avoid these various places that had these types of demographics in them, that this was due to him being a racist person fundamentally, or he hated minorities or something like this. Kind of the big problem there, to point this out, is like, let's grant the argument just for the sake of granting it. Let's just grant it. Okay, he was. From his view, though, isn't his view that that is an added layer of danger, and he's trying to protect his kids from an added layer of danger? Whether it's warranted or unwarranted doesn't matter. That's still what the attempt is to do, right? So essentially, even within the paradigm of this very argument, you would end up having to say that Fuentes' dad was just trying to look out for him, right? Isn't that the whole purpose here? Like, even if you granted the argument, wouldn't you have to concede that portion of the view? So in the kind of attempt to make the villainization, in many ways that backfires, doesn't it? Smoky gun bad. Yeah, that's funny. Thank you. Even if you granted the view. I'm sending this just to piss off that other chatter for the gun. Oh, okay. Excellent. Hope we get another team up with you and Jay soon. I still think about Parker's reaction when you both were on Piers. Yeah, that was funny. The Gaytheist thing. He brought that up later, too, at Jubilee, which was hilarious. Boy, we sure do a lot of dunking on the Jubilee All-Stars, don't we? Andrew, I appreciate your patience with stupid people, your endless effort to try to educate or give us perspective. Thank you. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. By the way, a lot of people who are in the chat who are watching this are troublemakers, and specifically what they're trying to do is take just basic political analysis of a major debate which occurred today and try to make me out to be some sort of villain or try to put me against either of these personalities, which is equally ridiculous. I can give my analysis of what I think is correct, true, and break these arguments down without having to personalize or make it about my personal friendship with one or the other. So that's fucking ridiculous. And it's very low IQ behavior, by the way. That's how low IQ people attempt to start trouble between people.
Well, I understand what you're doing, which is a sort of making of a murderer. How did he become racist? Well, his father didn't eat at Olive Garden because he said that's not real Italian food. Hang on, can I? What's with the interruptions? Can I explain?
I'm literally reminding you of something you said on your show, which led me to conclude a certain thing. If I'm wrong, tell me.
Yeah, it was said in jest as a humorous anecdote, and now you're trying to spin it into a narrative, which is his parents are racist. He comes from a long line of racists. And I think everybody knows my parents are boomers. Mm-hmm. And these people come, well, you're a boomer, I guess, too. in a
I'm
way,
60.
right? You were born
I'm
in
60.
what, 19? Yeah. So you're a boomer also. Or maybe you're a Gen Xer. I suppose it's sort of on the cusp. But it's a huge
Yeah, this is a debate, like it or not. This is a dialectical debate between two competing worldviews, and both of them are attacking the other and defending each worldview. I don't know. Yes, this is a debate. Is it formalized? No, but most debates are not formalized.
humorous anecdote. These are kind of the attitudes of baby boomers in society, but you're trying to spin it into a narrative, which is you're a product of your environment. Your dad's racist because of this joke. Now you're a racist. And I don't think that's a fair characterization.
Okay. People can make their own minds up. They can go back and listen to you say it. I mean, the beauty of what I'm going to talk to you about in this interview is that almost all of it is just going to be reminding you what you have said and asking you what you meant. Your position about that story is that it was a joke. Okay. I want to come to some.
I feel like we haven't gotten anywhere here. Right? I feel like we haven't gotten anywhere here. Who gives a shit if Nick said, talked about some story between his dad and something like who cares that we're not getting at anything here. We're not getting to anything that I care to hear. I want to hear the actual arguments between these two men and their dialectical views. Can we coexist with the left? They not only excused and celebrated what happened to Charlie, it's mainstream, so their political leaders will need to cater to this bloodlust, which brings me back to my question. Can we coexist with these people? As long as we have power, yes. Yes, we can. But we have to always be in the power position. We have to always be in the power position because we see what they do when we're not.
Something else you said. This is where you talk about Jews, women, and blacks. Let's just take a listen.
They're always coming up with, no, it's not the Jews. No, it's not women. No, it's not blacks. It's actually really complicated. No, it fucking isn't at all. Jews are running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part. And we would live in paradise. It's that simple.
That is not funny. That is not
I'm certainly
funny.
not laughing, Andrew.
That is not funny, Mystery.
Who's laughing?
Stop it. That is not funny. It's not a joke.
I'm leaving.
It's not a joke. Stop it, Mystery. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. You people are unbelievable. You're unbelievable. It's not funny. It's not a joke. You think I just laugh every time somebody shits on women? Has to be the right women. I'm on overtime right now and want you to have my hard-earned money. Please use it toward. Okay, I appreciate it. It's not funny. It's not funny.
Stop laughing, chat.
Stop
right
laughing.
now.
Stop
Stop
it.
laughing right now.
Stop. All right, play it.
You have the controls. I'm not doing shit.
I said play it anyway.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Okay.
play it.
Would you like to clarify what you meant there?
That's all true. That's 100% true. Everything I said in that clip is true.
Okay, that makes it a little bit more funny even.
Including that blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part.
Yeah. Yes.
But all of them?
No, for the most part.
What does the most part mean? What percentage of American blacks would you like to see in prison?
Whatever the percentages of the murderers. I think it's 1 in 20 black men will commit a murder in their lifetime. So maybe let's say that 5%.
Oh, so you're talking about.
The thing is I have my hearty disagreements with many of Nick's views. I do. And many with Piers's views as well. I do as well. But the guy was that was clearly the guy funning. Like, am I retarded here? Am I retarded here, Mystery? That was clearly the guy was funning right there. Am I crazy?
You're retarded for other reasons.
he has the inflection. He's obviously smiling and laughing while he said, like, the dude is obviously fucking joking. Okay, I mean, it's
yeah, I thought
clear.
it was.
It's very clear to
mean,
me that he was
look,
joking.
A lot of jokes are based in truth. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, but he said it himself. I think he says in this interview that he's an iconoclast. So, I mean, his whole purpose is to use provocation in order to draw attention to actual issues in the nation. What's up, man? Thank you for the 20. I appreciate it.
Black people who murder people.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But you didn't say that.
That's
You
the
just
crime
said
problem.
blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part. You didn't clarify that you were talking about black murderers.
Right. No, you're right. That's a good addition to that. That's a great point.
Do you think it's funny, or
I think, yeah, I do. I think it's hilarious. I think it's totally true.
do you think a black American would find it funny? You think that blacks should be imprisoned?
I mean, has Morgan ever listened to a black comedian before? Like, I don't know if he's ever listened to a black comedian before.
No, he's clearly never heard Patrice or Chris Rock or Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, but black comedians are well, they're pretty harsh on a certain subset of the population at large. Just saying.
For the most part.
Blacks are my biggest fans. I get high fives all the time. They say, Nick Fuentes, I love your show. They agree with me. And you want to know why? Here's the difference. Black people are the most victimized by other black people. You think black people want to live in the hood? And
I mean, I was just talking about this the other day on Pierce's show, and I think he kind of largely agreed with me when we were talking about the F slur in that context, right? The big F bomb, not fuck, but the big F bomb, right? And I think he kind of agreed with me. Context matters. What it is that you're trying to get across matters. You know, all of that matters. I don't consider the word problematic. I think, Mr. E, last time we had a conversation, didn't you say later F slur? I'm pretty confident you did.
Bro, I answered when you answer the phone, I'm like, yo, what's up?
Yeah, I'm pretty.
I almost forgot we were on YouTube for a second.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm pretty confident that almost always happens. Right? It's like
the ghetto and get shot all the time. That's what happens in the south side of Chicago. You should come here. I'll take you there. We could go to Garfield Park.
My son
we could
went
go
to Chicago
Inglewood.
University for a year, actually, several years ago.
Yeah, that's a bubble. That's a bubble. You think you're in Chicago and Hyde Park? You don't know Chicago. Go a little bit west, see what it's like over there. And I'll tell you, black people agree with me because they're tired of it too. And maybe not most of them, but a lot of them agree with what I say about that because they know how it is. That's why.
Yeah, this is a really good point. He says the tabula rasa comment was descriptive. The source of the progressive ideology, and it's incorrect. Here, Piers is arguing tabula rasa, product of environment, father racist, Nick therefore racist. Yeah, that would be, and by the way, that would be a fallacious argument, right? It makes no sense. It's unsound. The basically, when you get to your conclusion, it doesn't even follow from the premises here. It just doesn't follow from there. It's an unsound argument.
The first thing they do when they make a little bit of money is they go and leave to another neighborhood.
Okay, so what was
They don't stick
just remind
around.
me again, the percentage of black men who commit murder in America. What was the percentage you gave me?
It's 1 in 20. 1 in 20.
It's 1 in 100.
No, it's 1 in 20.
No. Less than 1 in 100 black US men commit murder. That's the most up-to-date crime statistics in America.
That's not true. I've seen other statistics. They say 1 in
have?
20 will eventually commit a murder.
1 in 20 does seem a bit high. Mr. Enigmatic, can you get a double check on that?
Last time I checked the crime statistics, it was on average like 6% total. Because it's like if you take the young men between like
No, well, what I'm looking for is whether or not it's 1 in 20 or 1 in 100.
that what commit violent crimes.
No. What they're saying specifically, pay attention, Mr. E.
It's in America.
That's not true. I've seen other statistics. They say 1 in
have?
20 will eventually commit a murder.
So
I have.
He's saying 1 in
eventually commit a
20
murder.
will eventually commit a murder. Morgan's saying it's 1 in 100.
And it's just men, right? Or total.
Well, just total over the population, obviously. If the F6 word is so bad, why is it on my keyword? Yeah, true. Good point. Good point. Yeah, look that up for me.
So this
Your
is
rate means
based on most recent data available, approximately 28.8 per 100,000 Black Americans are arrested for murder or non-negligent manslaughter annually. Black offenders accounting for 51.3% of all murders in the United States based on 2019 data.
That's not what I'm after, bro.
I know. I'm trying to
put it in the
find it.
Discord and have one of the autists crunch the numbers
Yeah,
for
well, I'm
us.
not autistic enough to find
so
this. That
you're saying that 5 times as many black men commit murder as the official crime statistics say.
Yeah, there's a report, I believe, on X by Data Hazard. I'll have to go and double check that for you. But yes, there's some pretty shocking evidence that says that it's far more alarming than you would think.
Okay, but you would accept that the official crime statistics are 1 in 100, or you wouldn't accept that statistic?
I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, but I've seen other evidence. Like I said, Data Hazard on X, I believe, produced a report about a year ago. It said 1 in 20. But I mean, whether it's 1 in 20 or 1 in 100, that's a lot of people, Piers. I mean,
Yeah, so I don't. So I do want to double check because I'm not sure. But 1 in 20 does sound actually very high to me. It does. It sounds high to me. 1 in 100, even that's really fucking high. But 1 in 100 is really fucking high too. Okay, it's like 1 out of every 100 people of a group is going to commit it. That's a fucking that's still strikingly high, by the way. These people feigning outrage, their heads would explode if they were exposed to Call of Duty Modern Warfare Halo lobby circa late 2000s, early 2010s. Oh, yeah. Those gamer lobbies. And nobody gave a shit. Nobody cared at all.
Sure,
this
a
is a
lot
real
of white
problem.
people commit murder too. Well, they do, don't they?
Okay, but it's about proportionality. I mean, white people are 65% of the population. Blacks are 13%. And I think anybody would tell you that more black people proportionally.
Well, now hang on. Don't be evasive here. Don't be evasive with the language. Like, don't be fucks and try to be evasive with me with the language. They specifically are talking about murder. Don't tell me about violent crime statistics. Don't tell me about that. Don't be evasive, disingenuous fuckheads. We want the answer to murder specifically because that's what they're arguing. Never, ever, ever try those low IQ tricks with me. Never try to be fucking evasive with me when it comes to the language. I've seen every dirty trick in the fucking book from people way better than you. That's what we're talking about. That's what I want to find the answer to.
I pulled up the data. Sorry, give me a second. I pulled up the data Nick was referring to from Data Hazard. Found it. He actually reposted it because it was mentioned on Piers. And it says 1.5% of black men born in 1974 ended up in prison for committing a murder before turning 35 years old. 2.2% of that same cohort were victims of homicide by age 25. Let's see if he goes into more details here.
Well, wait, the first number was 1%?
1.5% of black men born in 1974 went to jail for committing a murder before turning 35 years old.
Well, wouldn't that be 1 in 100 though? At 1%? Am I crazy?
It would be, wait, hold on. Cumulative rate by age 35 per 100,000 of each yearly cohort. So born 1974, 2209 is the high one. Let me do the math on that real quick.
Anyway, we'll find out. And when you get a decisive answer, let me know.
Commit violent crime than white people, and people vote with their feet. People would rather pay a much higher property tax.
Most mass
what's with the
shootings-
interruptions?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, you look at in Chicago, in New York, these neighborhoods are so stratified. People would rather pay a high tax rate. They'd rather pay a much higher property value to live in a less diverse, less black neighborhood because they don't want to live around the violence. And I think that when you look at even on the public transit, the subway, the blue line, you know, people don't want.
Yeah, I'm terrible at math. There's no me capping there. I've always been terrible at doing math in my head. Very good at doing math when it's not in my head. but I'm just terrible at it in my head. You know, some people are really good at that shit. They can just like right off the cusp, they can do long division, things like that in their fucking head. Like I can see a machine and it'll fix itself just by me looking at it because I'm that skilled, but fucking terrible at doing math in my head. Always have been.
Want to go there because they know who occupies and menaces the public transit. It is these people like Daniel Penny had to deal with. It's people like Irina Zarutska had to deal with. And that's just the uncomfortable reality.
You've also said you don't want to live near black people. Let's take a listen to this clip.
I'm a new generation of white person. I'm not living around blacks. Sorry. You know, I want white kids, and I don't want my white kids bringing home black people to marry. It's racial for me. And call me racist. Oh, very Christian of you. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, it couldn't be clearer, really, unless you want to say that's another of your jokes. But you're basically saying, yeah, I'm a racist, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
You're fine with saying you're a racist?
Totally. I think everybody's racist. I think everybody, if we're being honest, is racist. I think everybody, the only people that aren't racist or pretend not to be are white people to their detriment.
So this is a very common argument you see back and forth between, and this is what makes this dialectic so interesting. So what they're talking about right now is the idea of miscegenation. And there's many on the dissonant right, obviously, who are very much against the idea of miscegenation. Progressives, of course, don't give a shit. For a long time, for many years, the basic idea was when people would make anti-miscegenation arguments or stances, that just the moral outrage from said stance, right? I don't, I don't believe in that or whatever it is. The moral outrage from that was just enough. That's enough, right? Well, what you just said is so morally outrageous that it doesn't even need to be contended with. Moving on. Well, now we're moving back into the age of free media and free voice, right? Meaning you can kind of say what you want again in many respects on places like X and kind of these other platforms which have become the town square. So Morgan here is not actually taking Nick to task on his anti-miscegenation views. He's just saying that he's morally outraged by them. That to me is see, this is the thing that nags me the most about this kind of shit is like, there are great progressive debaters. There really are. They're fantastic. And they will take you to task for your views, especially if you, like, let's say you're anti-miscegenation or things like this. They will definitely dive into that worldview and tangle up. And then we got something that we can break down, the arguments, the logic, what's true here, what's false here, what's a person saying that makes sense, what's a person saying that's not making sense, right? But here we have Fuentes saying essentially he's anti-miscegenation and Morgan just being outraged by it. Where does that get us? It doesn't fucking get us anywhere. Go ahead.
So I found the actual data that Nick was referring to, and it's a write-up. Sorry, 1 second. It's a write-up that Data Hazard did at the end of 2023. Homicide is the cause of death for 5.5% of black males over the past 54 years. 2019 to 2021 was the largest 2-year increase in murder in America's history. Sorry, I don't know what's going on in my throat here. At current rates, we now expect almost 1 in 20 black males to commit murder in his life. And then he wrote up a study called 4.5% in the demographics of American murder. Will 1 out of every 22 black males commit murder? Public data from the FBI and CDC makes a compelling case. And then he says all forward-looking and backward-looking data brings us to the same conclusion. The great decarceration. The great decarceration has been a massive human tragedy.
So that's
that will
what.
continue
So
until we
that's what
correct
Nick
its
is.
terrible errors.
So that's what Nick is sourcing here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well,
specifically post BLM, because like he says, 4.5% of black males will commit murder in their lifetime as of 2021 if we choose to do nothing about the ongoing epidemic of violence. And
I see. Okay. Well, send that over to me so that I can break that down,
yeah,
so that we can at least get to the truth of the matter. Because, there's a bit of ambiguity going on here, and they didn't stay on that topic for too long.
It's estimations, right?
Yeah.
So based off
Pierce
of,
smuggled
data
in
trends.
murder. Nick was originally talking about violent crime, and Pierce pulled up the murder stat. Yeah, I think you got to be careful here because I don't want there to be ambiguity or equivocation. It did sound like both of them were saying specifically murder, and now that I just heard that from Mr. E, it sounds like Nick was specifically talking about murder.
Yeah, it's
And
murder
so
alone.
and so was Pierce. So yeah, I don't think that that's an accurate depiction what you're laying down there, right? I'm not sure that that's particularly accurate. Yeah, get a cough drop, mystery. The chat demands it.
Says the
Everybody
end of the
else is
speed of the
racist.
But
soul.
earlier in the interview, you really got aggrieved at the idea that your father was a racist. You wanted to make emphatically
because
sure
my father's
he's not.
because my father doesn't share my same views on that.
So he's the exception.
And he's not fucking there. You know? They just tried this shit with me too. They just tried this fucking same shit with me where they could disingenuously clip some fucking bullshit and tried to make some fucking lesbo into a hero because for 90 seconds I went off on her and then went on to debunk and destroy all of her dumbass arguments with her accusations. They do the same fucking shit. They go by proxy, they try to attack your family, and then they clip it when you say something back to them, when you clap back against their fucking bullshit. And it is one of the most low tier ways in which these people attack you because they don't have fucking anything. They have no arguments at all. Here's money so Mr. Flem can buy a bag of cough drops. Yeah, good idea.
Everyone's a racist.
Well, everybody's a little
Come
bit
on, give me a
racist.
break,
You're right.
guys.
So maybe everybody. The difference is you're attacking my father. You know, he
I'm not
could get
attacking
fired
your
from
father.
his job.
I'm not attacking your father.
You are.
No, I'm not. I don't know your father. And to be clear, I have no knowledge about him at all.
Well, then let's leave him out of it.
Well, hang
Let's
on.
leave him out of it if you don't know him.
Hang on, Nick. You put that story into the public domain on your show. I'm simply reminding you of what you told everybody, millions of people, about your father. If you now want to retract it, fine. If you want to say it was a joke, which is what your position was earlier, fine. But I'm allowed to put to you things you've said publicly. That's not unfair. That's not me targeting your father. You put that story about him out
You know
there.
what you're doing. You know what you're doing.
I'm asking you about a pretty shocking anecdote, which to me looked like you were saying your father made decisions about where you as a family.
From Nick's view here, it does seem obvious what he's thinking in his head. He's thinking that the reason that you're naming my dad and the reason you're drawing attention to that and this and that is so that there will be an organized harassment campaign against him. Totally understand what he's saying. I do.
Family would eat based on skin color of people who worked at these places. If you say, or use them, if you say that is not what you meant, that's fine. You can respond any way you like. But the idea, I can't ask you about it without you saying I'm attacking your father.
And there's a political culture in America where if you have the wrong views, you get fired from your job. And my father has a job. And if you go on here and say, you charge him with racism or something, and I'm put in a position where I don't look like I'm sticking to my guns if I don't say my father's a racist, you're putting him in jeopardy, and he's not here to defend himself or explain his views. And it's very low, and I think you know exactly what you're doing, and people can see what you're doing. I'll defend my views, and I think that, so let's leave him out of it. Let's just not talk about my father because my father isn't here. I'm here.
Okay, well,
I'll
then do you
defend
accept
my
that you
views,
shouldn't
and I'll
talk?
defend
Okay,
the anecdote.
listen, that's fine. But then do you accept you shouldn't talk about your father on your show? And you shouldn't tell...
Absolutely not. Absolutely
so
not.
So it's fine for you to put a story out there which would make most people who listened to that story or watched it at the time on your show conclude that he was racist. It's fine for you to do that. But if I then ask you about it, I'm the one who's being unfair and I've crossed a line. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're
That's
being
fine.
malicious.
Okay. That's...
Yeah, he thinks from Nick's view, he thinks that this is an attempt to do an organized harassment campaign. And he's high profile enough that he understands that the way that leftist media operates is by doing exactly that. By engaging in harassment campaigns against family members, even if they took something out of context or a joke or something like this, even if they know that it's not factual, it doesn't matter. To these people, the ends justify the means. The ends justify the means. And if there has to be, remember, it's a pure utilitarian mindset. These people reject Christian ethics for utilitarian mindset. For them, hey, if the parents got something bad has to happen to them in order to get Nick, who cares? That's what they think. That's literally what goes on in progressive brains. The ends justify the means. It's pure utilitarian hedonic calculus. That's the way that their minds operate. I can do whatever I want to you because it stops you because you're a bad guy. And if a couple of good people have to get caught up in it, that sucks. But as long as you're done, the ends justify the means. It is low tier, and I fucking hate it. And I've made it a habit specifically not to go after people's families, extended families on this show ever, especially not their kids. And yet these people, they don't play by the same rules. They just don't. But I'm also not going to lower myself to that in order to get my comeuppance either.
Fine. That's fine. Listen, people are watching this
Or my petty revenge,
live. They can draw their own conclusions about whether what I just
And they
did.
will.
Yeah, and I'm sure afterwards, by the way, you'll say, he ambushed me with your own words.
Whoa.
With your own words.
That's a little presumptuous. I'm not going to say it's an ambush, but I think that's a low blow. And I think you know what you're doing, and that's fine. You're a tabloid journalist. I expected that. I don't think it's an ambush because I knew it would be like this. And people will see what you're doing, and I think they'll say it's low. But as far as you want to talk about racism,
I do.
Let's talk about racism. Let's leave my dad out of it.
Look, you've admitted you're a racist, correct?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Own it.
Okay, that's fine. You're perfectly entitled in a free democratic society to stare down the barrel of his camera and tell me you're a racist. People can judge you accordingly. Many people who have assumed that you're a racist will now have heard it.
Look, this I know that this is going to be polarizing for people in the chat as we do a analysis on this back and forth. I get that. I see people in the chat fighting their asses off back and forth about this. Okay. How could this segment be defending Nick, and how could this segment of the chat be defending Piers? Look, your views are welcome here. The micro debates, I think, are sometimes just as fun as the debate analysis itself. I'm not upset with people if they don't like either view. That's it's not a cult. It would be a lot easier if I was running a cult. But it's just not a cult. You can come and go as you see fit, and you can focus on the things that you want to focus on. And I don't have any issues with that. Analysis is there to be challenged.
From your own lips. That's fine.
There you go.
That's the point. The point of this interview is to go over the things you've said, which have led people to reach conclusions about you, and to ascertain whether those conclusions are fair and reasonable or not. That's it.
Thank
I want to
you.
play you another clip. This is what you talk about why white people are justified in being racist. Let's take a listen to this.
Wait, it's not a cult? Unfortunately. It'd be a lot easier if it was. Sorry, you came to the wrong place for the cult. I've said it before, but big thank you from the smoking community for the way you do it in such an unapologetic way. Been much less careful with controlling where I exhale around others. What? Oh, you mean about smoking? Hiding your views about smoking? Yeah. I don't know when that became such a brutal social taboo to smoke a cigarette. I mean, it never was when I was growing. Nobody gave a shit. It wasn't even a big deal. And suddenly it just became this massive. It shows you how much propaganda does work. Because the social taboo, the huge criticism I get because I smoke cigarettes is fucking crazy to me.
First, white people are every single bit justified in being racist. Every single bit justified, to the extent that that means going out of your way to avoid black people when you see them.
I mean, that seems to be a fairly mainstream talking point these days, doesn't it? And what I'm looking for here is whether or not Morgan's actually going to challenge this with an argument or if he's just going to do more moral outrage. And by the way, wasn't that one of the Crowder clips? I want to say, I don't know if I'm right about this or not, but when Steven was doing his interview slash debate with Nick, he also pulled up clips, but then he would go back and he would play full context. So there could be a significant amount of context which is missing here. Riddle me this. What makes Japan so special that people defend their racism, but when America does, it's completely wrong? I've read so many comments defending the new PM, and she's as base as Trump. That's a good question. Progressives actually will, if they're pressed, say that what Japan is doing is evil, just so you know. I know because I brought this point up many times. But the distinction is they say that there's a distinction in history, that America is a nation founded on immigrants and waves of immigration, and that's what makes it successful. And we would actually be cutting off our own feet by curtailing that. Whereas Japan, they have a much more ethnocentric culture because it's a much longer lasting, longer stayed culture. And also, they point out that that culture is dying due to the ethnocentrism. Now, from the progressive view, this is a very compelling argument. Listen to the view very closely so that you know how to combat it in the future. From the progressive view, they're making the affirmative claim that due to the Japanese ethnocentric nature of their people group, that people group is dying off due to birth rates. And what do they say is the only offset that can be done about birth rates? Immigration, right? So they speak out of both sides of their mouth. On the one side of the mouth, they'll say birth rates aren't even an issue. Who cares if there's less people? That's a good thing, right? Because they're a bunch of antinatalist fucks. And then on the flip side, they'll say, but if you're ethnocentric or ethno-nationalistic, that'll lead to lower birth rates. And it's like, well, which position is it here? Which position is it that we want here? For them, it's either position that'll get you to immigration. That's what they care about ultimately.
You stand by
Absolutely.
that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So white people should go out of their way to avoid black people when they see them.
See, this is more. There's no. What's the argument here? Can you give him? Hit him with a damn argument, Piers. Come on, give me something. Give me something. The stand on moral outrage thing. That's dying off, man. People don't care about that. He just affirmed the claim. He believes that. Now it's time for the argument section. Now's the time for you to challenge that if you're going to challenge that. Just standing on the moral outrage, I can't believe that you said that. That's not compelling. Give us something compelling here. Cooley had a great analysis of the debate earlier. He said they're discussing two different definitions of racism. Piers thinks KKK white supremacy. Nick thinks racial group preference. Very interesting. It is true that between progressives and conservatives, they do use different definitions of racism generally in the mainstream now. Progressives, racism has to be prejudice plus power, meaning there has to be some sort of institutional control or you can't actually be a racist at all. This is how they avoid the idea that minorities are racist against white people, is by saying they don't have the institutional power to go with the prejudice. That's the whole view. From the flip side, the conservative view is that it's prejudice based on a mutable characteristic, in this case, skin color. That's what makes you a racist, right? So there is two distinct definitions going on. Remember, I said the biggest fallacy in a debate is equivocation. That's what's going on right now is equivocation. I mean, Cooley probably got that one much more correct than incorrect. People will attack smoking yet be hardcore drug users. The propaganda is insane. What makes one vice morally worse? Knew a guy who literally did meth and would berate people for smoking. Yeah, it does seem like kind of a weak criticism ultimately, yes.
Absolutely. They would be wise.
Why?
Because it's a lose-lose proposition. if you're Irina Zarutska and you don't walk the other way, you get stabbed to death and you die. If you're somebody else and you walk on the subway and you stand near a black person or something, maybe it's fine. It's a lose-lose proposition. So no, I think that white people have been beaten into submission, that we're afraid to tell the truth about it. And the truth is that when you go into these major cities like New York or Chicago, I believe she was in North Carolina, there is a menace, which is young, black, adolescent men. They're extremely violent. And we have been told that we have to pretend like they are every other person. We have to be colorblind to that. And we're supposed to go and be in the midst of all this danger. And I think that at this point, it's gotten out of control. You look at the BLM.
Well, and the thing is that as he's moving into this argument, what he's saying is, look, you can take this off the table if you want to, right? But everyone knows where ghettos are and what to avoid. That's the truth. And so this seems to be what Fuentes is moving and, kind of alluding to here, is that there's a problem in this aspect. But the thing is that whether this is the case or not the case, it's kind of up to Piers here to make a compelling argument against this. And he's not doing that, just so you know. He's not actually making a compelling argument here. I'm tired of people calling people like Piers moderate. He's progressive, and we are still playing the nice game. Love everybody, even if they despise you. In politics, that doesn't work well. That's true. It is, in fact, the case. Andrew, as a day shifter, I have to call it a night. I hope your takes on Morgan's attacks on Nick's sexual preferences to be celibate. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, we'll get to all of it. I'm guessing we're going to be here for a while, so we still got quite a bit of debate here to get through. Real quick, Mr. Enigmatic, can you hide screen for me for just a second, or put me full screen if you don't mind? Mr. Enigmatic, thank you. Appreciate it. 1 second. Don't move from that screen. I'd appreciate it. All right, 1 second. I just want to pull up the dono chat here.
Jack.
Well, good.
It'd just be crazy.
It's about time. So $10 comes in from What About My Argument? Tess, could you send me a message on X if this donation is received? Yeah, your donation was received. $5 from How Long Nate. Good evening, sir. Just a reminder to the chat, they have 10 seconds from hearing this to hit the thumbs up or they're a power bottom. $20 from Smoky Man Good. Always great time watching Andrew give based analysis. Thanks for what you do. Tell Rachel she's great too. She is great. $20 comes in from Christian, who says, you could grant his dad was racist and the kids were safer because of it. Right. That was the whole point I was making for the argument. Is like, the one hand, you can't say, he's trying to protect his family. And then on the other hand, say from his view, he was, right. That's a terrible argument. $20 comes in from Mike, says, it's my wife's birthday today. She's a big fan. Could you shout out Brittany Stevens? Yeah. Happy birthday, Brittany. Happy birthday. $20 comes in from Rinky, who says, I can see a Netflix movie in 2026 where Clint Eastwood plays Nick's dad and taps into the role from Gran Torino. All right, that's pretty funny. He's just out there just spitting, chewing tobacco. $21 from Mitch. Been watching you for years. It feels good to give directly. Love your meticulousness. Thanks for the content. You're welcome. $100 comes in from Leslie. Says, come on, Andrew. You know as well as I do the reason they go after your smoking is because that's the only argument they have against you, which shows they have nothing. Keep up the good work, brother. Will do. Appreciate it, guys, for the Dono Chat donations. Mr. Enigmatic, put them up on the Dono Go bar, please. I'd appreciate it.
Yep.
And then we can get back to the kind of debate breakdown here. Go ahead.
Movement, they said that the reason that black people, are violent, or the reason there's crime, is because of police brutality, or redlining, or all these other things. They said we need to get rid of the police. We need to defund them. And a lot of cities did. A lot of cities like Chicago, for example, the police changed the rules of engagement. They don't chase them. It's not a felony if you steal a certain amount of merchandise. They won't chase them on foot. And now the city's totally up for grabs.
This was brought up to me. I remember recently when I was in Santa Barbara, California, I was inside of a boom boom shop, right? Not that kind of boom boom. You know,
Hold up.
yeah,
Wait a minute.
hold up. It's the firearm kind, right? And I was talking to the gentleman who owned it, small shop in Goleta, California. Very nice guy. And we were kind of diving into some of the politics which were going on in California. And, he said one of the small things that happened that really changed the political paradigm in that area, because this is a really rich yuppie area, okay? Very rich yuppies all over this entire area. Very expensive to live in Santa Barbara, the Goleta area, these places. Very expensive. And he said one of the things that changed the social paradigm around and turned people more conservative was a very small thing. People were beginning to get pissed off that everything in the stores they went into was locked up, everything. So they would have to go in and it was a huge inconvenience for people if they wanted to get anything, if they wanted to go get a bottle of alcohol, get some beer. But not just that, bizarre things like razor blades and, razors and different types of soaps. And they had to keep these things locked up on the shelves. And so in order for you to do convenient shopping, a person would have to come over and unlock these things so that you could then take them and buy them and purchase them. And this became a huge problem. This became a massive issue for the people in this area. And so they began to vote, to the right on this when it came to what to do when people were doing this type of shoplifting. And they started to make a demand that the, kind of local officials were much, much, much harder, especially the district attorney, on prosecuting people for shoplifting. And they were able to successfully get the laws changed. And when that happened, kind of overnight this stopped. So something that small, even in yuppie progressive land, if you inconvenience people enough or cause enough problems for them, they can collectively change laws even at the local level just by replacing it with a district attorney that'll do their job. So I thought that was a really interesting kind of anecdote there. So, but Andrew absorbing Nick fans, yeah, fucking right. Look, maybe you guys think that this is a major stream for us, but we do these numbers pretty consistently. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This is just a typical debate review. I would calm down with the rhetoric a little bit.
I mean, we've only got 8,500 people watching. We had 11,000 on the last debate.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Of course, we usually do like between 10 and 13,000 on a debate. So, but this is pretty common numbers for us. Piers says, sorry, that's not $20. You know the rule, $20.
Whether you're in the Gold Coast or whether you're on the Mag Mile or you're in the worst neighborhoods in the city, you might get shot. You might get.
Doobie from, he has the politics servers, the largest political Discord in the world, as far as I know. Always enjoy chatting with Doobie, very insightful guy. He says, Piers fumbled this hard, in my opinion. My only criticism of Nick is he should have hit harder on the double standard Piers has in his support for Israel as a Jewish state, embracing ethno-nationalism. That's a good point. Nick is essentially pushing the same policies Israel has. I do think he did bring that up, Doobie. Honestly, I think he did bring that up.
Mug, someone might run up on you. And I tell my followers, it is better to be perceived as racist or racist and walk the other way and maybe keep your life.
Listen, look at this guy. Let the interview play, bro. We'll be here all night. You're not going to be here all night because Ahmad is going to ban you for 24 hours because you pissed me off. If we're here all night,
go watch the fucking interview.
In here all night, you fucker. People are tuning in for my analysis.
Yeah, go watch the debate if you want to watch it.
Get the fuck out of here, you stupid fuck.
Yeah, somebody beat that guy to death with a hammer. No,
I'm a good anti-racist.
Shut up, you fucking idiot. Are you stupid, Mystery? Shut up.
I don't mind that this person's making me uncomfortable. Maybe he's looking a little froggy. I'm going to sit down because I'm a good person. and get stabbed, mugged, whatever. And by the way, this is a strategy. They call it the friendly stranger. There's a crew of them. They do this in Chicago. They stand outside bars, black people. They approach strangers. It's a robbery crew, and they pretend to be a friendly stranger, and then they mug them. And stupid white people say, oh, hi, yeah, nice to meet you. You know, they grin, they laugh, they put up with the nonsense, and then they get mugged, or worse. Sometimes they get executed. And so as a white person,
how do you feel about mass shootings?
No argument from Piers. Again. How is he going to claim that this is a pushback interview or a pushback debate? He didn't give an argument here either. It looks like he's switching subjects again. Piers mistakes words for terms, assuming fixed meanings instead of context. Labels replace reasoning, and tabloid logic is passed off as precision. By the way, I'll just point out Dean Withers did a better job of debating with Fuentes on these issues than Piers Morgan has done so far. Say what you want about Dean. He's a terrible debater, in my opinion. But he at least was trying to utilize arguments. All I keep seeing here is moral outrage. Just, I'm morally outraged. I'm morally outraged. I'm morally outraged. It's like, well, give me the fucking argument. Please. Pretty please. With sugar on top. Can you give me the fucking argument?
School.
I think they're bad.
Who do you think commits the vast majority of the mass shootings?
I'm sure it's white people.
Right. So how do you feel about that?
I think that white people.
This is another very common progressive talking point that we run into on TikTok all the time when we debate with the TikTokers. Oh, yeah? Well, what about white people and what goes on with their spree killings? And it's like, well, have you ever dug into the data there? First of all, if you give a classification for what that is, which is 3 people during one of these homicide events, disproportionately, this goes to gang violence. Overwhelmingly made up of non-white people, by the way. That's classification 1. And then you have to move into classification 2, and that's an important one too, which is even if we use the just general criteria and we exit all gang violence and stuff like that, you still have to look at the representation per capita. And this is a huge struggle that the left has. I mean, they are allergic to the word per capita. Their words per capita. They are allergic to that. It's not an interview, it's a trial. That's what those pseudo liberals do. They put the heretics to their orthodoxy on full blast to direct the ire of their useful idiots to do their wet work for them. Yeah, but the outrage culture doesn't work as well under the Trump administration. They've tried to do the moral outrage with Trump for years, and it just doesn't seem to affect him very much. In fact, people seem to like it, right? They seem to like the bombastic nature and the double down nature of Donald Trump and his unapologetic way in which he goes about kind of attacking his opposition and defending himself from them. So I'm not sure that, I don't know why they think that this playbook of just moral outrage works. You have to argue. And the left they have good arguers. They have good people to argue their points. And I like listening to those debates. I don't think that every leftist makes terrible points. I don't think that every left-wing position is a terrible position. I think that they have some good insights. Not that many, but they do have some good insights that have made me change my mind on a few issues, right? Though I would say moderately changed my mind. Not really swayed me too much, but moderately changed my mind. Here, I'm not getting anything. I'm getting nothing, just moral outrage. It's like, okay, I understand what Nick's position here is. When do we get to Piers actually attacking the position or doing something to dive in to why he thinks he's wrong? It's just like stunned silence of moral outrage. Andrew, your body is like a soda can, refreshing. Dude, come on. What the fuck was that? What kind of comment is that, man? What the hell is wrong with you?
Do more antisocial violence. I think black people participate in more gang violence. I think that's the difference.
What's the difference to the victims?
There's no difference to the victim, but it's a different kind of crime, and it's a different proportion also. Do you know what percentage of white people are school shooters?
I know that the vast majority of
Did Andrew back out of the Sam Harris debate? No, my understanding is that MDD was supposed to be setting that up. So that's my understanding. I don't know why you would think in a million years I would ever do that. And just took on Richard Carrier. I think Richard Carrier has better, well, maybe not. He doesn't really have better points than Sam Harris, actually. I stand corrected. I correct myself on that.
mass shootings in schools in America this century were perpetrated by young white men. And I'm
And
just
what proportion of
and
what proportion?
I'm curious.
What proportion?
I'm curious whether your advice would be to people who have kids in
Wait, is
these
my
schools.
mic working?
What
proportion?
Should they avoid white people at school? Should people with the kids at school avoid young white men at school?
No.
Okay.
Do you know what per capita means? Do you know proportionality? There are more black people proportionally that engage in violent crime or are involved in gangs, especially in these major cities, than there are white people that are school shooters compared to the entire white population. And everybody understands that.
Two-thirds of mass shootings at school perpetrated by white people.
But what proportion of white men commit school shootings? That's the question.
I've just told you. It's 60 to 65% of school shootings.
This is very evasive. This is a very evasive TikTok-like answer here from Piers. Very, very evasive. Hey, Andrew, next time you're on Piers, ask him how he could write woke is dead, yet he's applying the same thing he writes about that's dead. P.S. Have a drink, brother. Actually, would be a good idea for me to have a mixed drink. I think the wife is streaming at the moment, which is very rare that we're ever streaming at the same time. So I may not be able to bother her to make me a drink, but perhaps I can bother Chase to make me a drink instead. Now I can say, hey, Chase, make me a drink, fucking Chase. I would appreciate it if you used your blah, blah, blah household leadership to prevent Rachel from streaming at the same time as you. For no other reason than I want to watch both. Where you're going to have to pick. I'm sorry, man. You're going to have to pick tonight. They had that all pre-planned for a while. The point of this interview isn't to make counter arguments, to showcase Nick's most controversial views and let the public react. Yeah, I get that. But not really. Not really. It doesn't. Let me think about this for a second. The best way to say this. The idea of here's Nick's most controversial viewpoints, right? We drew them out. These have been known for years. I mean, for years. Nobody is confused about what Nick thinks on X, Y, and Z at this point. He's been everywhere talking about this shit for the last year on huge channels all over the internet. And he's had tons and tons and tons of mainstream press who goes against him, who have clipped all of these various things out before anyway. So where does that get us? It doesn't really get us anywhere. He's going to have to give some kind of press in. Just the idea of the endless amount of moral outrage, I don't think does any service to Piers. I don't think that does any service to his position. That's what I think.
You're telling me what proportion of school shootings are committed by white people. I'm saying what proportion of white people have committed school shootings. Are you playing dumb or are you just not that smart?
What difference does that make
to
to the children lying dead on the ground?
See, now you want to jump on the victims. The difference is you're asking, would you fear white people or black people? And that's the difference. The difference is in terms
what I'm saying to you is by your logic, if we now have agreed that the vast majority of mass shootings in schools are committed by white people and predominantly young white men, then presumably your advice would be to avoid young white men.
This is a very good, I agree with this commenter. The best way to showcase Nick's views and his reasons to give him credible arguments to them and allow him to contend with them, but Piers tries to grandstand. Yeah. So the idea here is like, if you really want to display the intricate nature of these views, the best way to do that would be to form articulate arguments so that he has to contend with them, and then you can actually get more of the view out. Just asking a person to explain their view in a general sense, absent pushback criticism, you don't actually even ever get to the real view. You don't really ever get to it. How are you going to make a guy with a Christmas tree in the back, receipts, and a smile look bad? Oh, it can be done. Just got into college with my GI Bill money. Take some GI stipend going to get my BA in philosophy while working full time. So again, you can do that. I'm just going to tell you what I've heard from people who have gotten degrees in philosophy, that they wasted their money and it never did anything for them as far as jobs went. Just saying. Just that's what I've heard from various people I've talked to who have degrees in philosophy. They always end up working in like law firms and shit because they can't do anything with a philosophy degree.
Because they perpetrate these massacres. But it won't be because they're white, right?
So are you playing dumb or are you actually dumb?
Maybe
it's
I'm
about
dumb.
proportionality.
Maybe I'm dumb.
You are because you're, well, I don't think you are dumb. I think you're smart actually, but you're deliberately avoiding per capita. And everybody knows that's the difference. What proportion of white men are school shooters? It's probably 0.00001%. What proportion of black men have committed violent crimes? It's probably like 5%. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it's very high. And I would add to that, even as it concerns schools, why do you think parents pay a super high property tax to live in a school district where there's white people? Because they know that if they go to the black school, it's going to be the Bloods and the Crips. It's going to be gangs. It's going to be, you talk about school shootings.
So Fuentes here brings up an interesting and valid point. You don't really see white people flocking to put their children in minority-backed school districts. They're really not doing that if they have other alternatives. Is there going to be an argument here? Seems very doubtful. The judges and DAs kept blacks out of prison systems, so we don't really know the real crime statistics or recategorize the crime. Depends, again, I think that this depends on where you're at, right? $20, I remember when a hard-earned $5 got you a shout-out. I remember when being an Andrew Wilson fan meant something. I remember when this was a good, honest, well-meaning cult. Come on, guys, we're going to Rachel's stream. Well, the thing is for the purpose of this, the reason I said 20 instead of the normal 5, which is what we normally do, is because I do want to try to get through some of this debate at least, though we may have to switch gears a bit. When you made the debate tier list, what tier did you place Piers in? We didn't actually add Piers, I don't think. I don't think we actually added Morgan to the debate tier list at all.
Nobody talks about all the school shootings that are committed by gangbangers in and around the school and all the other violence that's associated with that. I mean, these schools in the south side of Chicago, it's just not livable.
I have an answer for you, Nick. So the proportion of the population who carry out mass shootings is actually the same for black and white.
For white people, the proportion of
the proportion
again,
of the population.
are you hearing it? No.
So I think the trouble with your statistics is a lot of them don't bear much scrutiny. We have a bunch of fact checkers checking all this in real time because you do have a tendency to just come out with a lot of old baloney. And when you say, okay, well, it's true. And when you're confronted with reality, you don't like it.
What's the figure? What proportion of white people have committed school shootings? With white people as the denominator and white people that have committed school shootings as the numerator, what's that percentage?
For both black and whites, the proportion of the population who carry out mass shootings generally is about the same.
Tell me the number, and then
the only focus of your attention is the black shootings, the black crime. You don't want to live around black people. You want to avoid black people. You don't want interracial marriages or relationships that may produce black people. And yet, when I point out to you that there are many parts of crime in America where actually there's a majority of white people that perpetrate them, you don't care. You don't have any interest in that. It doesn't exercise your mind. Maybe because you don't.
See, no one's
maybe 'cause
buying
you don't
this.
have
This
kids.
argument lost. No one is buying this. Everybody understands per capita, and people can even see what you race ahead and say, well, we're comparing the proportion of white and black school shooters. I said, no, compare the proportion of school shooters that are white versus violent criminals that are black, because
All right, I'm going to skip ahead here because there's no arguments. There was a section of this that I did find particularly interesting, which was on the topic. I think it's near the end here where they begin to discuss the various ideas that because Pierce begins to attack Nick for his family situation.
that are white. Where's the arrow pointing? Where are we going to be?
You have no idea what the answer is, and you haven't got to answer. But are you actually attracted to women?
Here we go.
Just quoting you back yourself again.
No, but you're extrapolating and saying, well, you say women are annoying or is to get married all the time.
Here we go.
About henpecked husbands. Just take a look.
That's true. Guys get to a certain age and they're like, you know what? Women suck.
Yeah, there's just no argument. I can't do much of a breakdown because there's just no arguments. It's just Fuentes is espousing what his viewpoints are, and Morgan's just being outraged. But I think here they do actually have some positions. So let's take a look here.
Like they're talking too much. They're not hot anymore. Like you're fat, you're chubby, you're not as hot as you think you are. You fucking talk too much. You're a bitch.
So we'll obviously get to the brazen misogyny part of that a little later. But I'm just curious. On the one hand, there's this terrible genocide going on of white people. On the other hand, you want people effectively to stop going near women because they all turn out to be so ghastly. So they shouldn't presumably procreate. So how does that work? I mean, aren't you, with your rhetoric, actively encouraging men not to associate with these ghastly women, therefore not have any more children? Therefore, you are contributing, Nick Fuentes, to the diminishing white population. I'm confused.
I tell my followers to get married all the time. I tell them that it's best for everybody to get married. And I think that's the only way that you can have sex. I think that's the only licit way as a Catholic, as you know, to have sex is within marriage.
What does that have to do with anything? Why don't you get married then? What does that have to do with anything? Because he probably hasn't met the right chick. I mean, who the fuck knows? What does that have to do with anything? Why does it? I guess what's so bothersome about this is like, it's just all switching gears every single time they come to a point or come to a head. It's like, well, how come you're not getting married then? How come you're not getting married then? How come? Well, maybe the guy doesn't want to get fucking married. My understanding from the Nick view is that he says, and again, I'm going to try not to straw man. I'm going to try to make sure I get the view correct. My understanding of the view that he has is that, for one thing, marriage is not for everybody. And he says that for him, it may not be for him, and that also he needs to be able to focus on what it is that he's doing with his career without the distraction of having to protect a family and the security of a family, which is what he thinks that that'll end up inevitably becoming a liability, meaning that people will try to threaten, blackmail, and harass him through his immediate family. Chances are good that he's correct about that, by the way. But I don't think I recall him saying that he's anti-marriage by any stretch of the imagination.
You get married.
I'll get married later. It's been difficult for me because people are shooting at me at my house. I don't know that I don't want to have kids and a wife. You know, my wife would be screaming about that. Me, you know, I have to be able to take risks and be able to say these things. It's difficult to bring a family into a life that's like that. But for my followers, I tell them
it is. And look, I'll speak from experience on this. It is extremely difficult to be a high profile political commentator and a political debater, right? And I'm not anywhere near the same level as a guy like Fuentes is, right? He's been around for years longer than me and building a following for years longer. And it's extremely difficult. Your family is mercilessly used against you, even for things which are completely normal within family dynamics. It's just ruthlessly used against you for the purpose of not just the ideas of blackmail, But the idea here is like, if we can't get you, we'll get them in order to get you. Like, again, the ends justify the means. I know this from experience. And what they try to do to demoralize your family, they go after your children. They'll do whatever they need to do to get you. So I completely understand this position. It makes a lot of sense to me from experience. I know that this is indeed the case.
to get married. But what's happening with women?
You literally
That's
just
an
told your
observation.
followers. Well, hang on. In that clip, you literally told followers, women, they get old, they get fat, they get ugly, they get very
true.
annoying. So where's the incentive to get married to women? There isn't one. You're actively telling them
You're
the opposite.
Well, I mean, men do too. Right? We get old, we get fat, we get ugly too. Though I have noticed now that while there is tons of obese women, there's at least a trend of women attempting to look better in their 30s and 40s, which I'm very appreciative for. But yeah, I mean, I understand. I've understood the criticisms on his side. I have hold many of the similar criticisms to women, who, especially ones who are inside the political space. Typically, in the politics concerning race, I see a lot of descriptors like 13, but not a lot of prescriptions of what should be done about this. Wondering when that conversation will take place. Yeah, well, the thing is that this comes up often, and on the ethno-nationalist side, it's a hard thing to contend with. It really is, and so when they go up against progressives on that stance, they have a much more difficult time. But Morgan didn't really take him to task on any of his views here, or even attempt to. He just kind of did the moral outrage thing the entire time, and I don't think that does anything for him ultimately. I don't think that hurts Nick's positions at all. I think the way that you would have to do it would be to actually attack the positions. But the guy's also a meticulously detailed and very skillful debater, and so maybe that was why he avoided that.
You're extrapolating a lot. We can complain.
Just quoting you back yourself again.
No, but you're extrapolating and saying, well, you say women are annoying, so therefore, what's the incentive? We have to do it in spite of the fact that they are annoying. We have to do it in spite of the fact that they talk too much. We can get them to lose weight. We can put them on peptides. We can get them to the promised land, but it's going to be.
Do you think this view of women may
meantime.
be why none of them want to go near you?
Well, the thing is that the guy's young. He's not a bad-looking guy, and he's fucking rich. I don't think he would have a problem getting women if he wanted to get women. I don't think he would have an issue doing that. And also, let's make a mental note here that trying to attack somebody who follows the worldview of Christian ethics, whether you believe that Fuentes does this rightly or wrongly, it doesn't really matter. From his view, it is immoral to engage in sexual intercourse with a woman pre-marriage. And sticking to that ethical purview, I don't know why you would even bother trying to attack somebody for that.
Oh, you should see my DMs. It is quite the opposite. They're called the Groy bets, and I'm actually batting them away. Granted, not all of them are attractive.
Yeah, you got to get rid of them though. you got to get them out of there. Get them out of there. We've been trying for years to get these fucking women out of this chat, and I just can't fucking get rid of them no matter what I do. They're so fucking. They're just exhausting. They're fucking exhausting. You're just like, could you just go away? You just go away. No, we want to be here because it's like, just go fucking fly a kite. Go away.
Some of them are attractive.
Are
but
you actually?
you'd be
Look, just to
very
clear
wrong
up, just to
about
clear
that.
up one of the many theories about you. I've no idea what the answer is, and you haven't got to answer. But are you actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay.
No, but I will say that women.
See why it is that having women in the chat is such a bad idea? Do you see? Isn't Andrew single also? What a surprise. Yes, that's right. Happily married man Andrew Wilson is also single, you fucking idiot. You fucking tard. You stupid bitch. Get the stupid bitch the fuck out of here. What a stupid fucking idiot. Not even 5 seconds of research, you fucking idiot.
women are
Nah,
very
Andrew.
difficult to be around.
That would be too hard,
So-
bro.
There's that.
And do you think they should have the right to vote?
I do not. No, absolutely not.
They should stay at home?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
See, basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm the
Yeah.
boomer. I know I'm the boomer here, but actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women.
I am.
All women are annoying. All women grow
fossil.
old. They all get fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
You know, you know who really levies 99% of these criticisms at women? It's other women. That's the truth. Look, I've dealt with now thousands of them. Okay, in person I've done debates, and online I've done debates, and had discussions with and open-ended conversations with like thousands of women. Okay, and they fucking hate each other's guts. All they do is talk about how annoying women are, how much women annoy them, how fucking stupid women are. That's all they fucking do. And even the ones who are in the sisterhood, the second one of them breaks the sisterhood code, they all shark attack. They all shark attack like backstabbing, conniving bitches. They just fucking shark attack. And it's like, they're the ones who usually go after each other. You know, but a man says the same thing. He's like, look, you know, they can be a fucking annoying problem, and they never shut up, and they're constantly backbiting, and they're fucking conniving, and you know, just basically parrots the same thing that women say about each other. And he's a misogynistic evildoer. It's like, give me a fucking break with this shit. Give me a fucking break.
Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't all women grow old? Like, why is that a criticism? Why is that misogynistic to say?
Well, and
women get old?
the other thing is, my wife brings this point up all the time, right? This idea that women need to maintain some high level of sexuality and sexual appeal when they're grandmothers is fucking crazy to both of us. It's crazy, you know. Like,
Yeah.
my wife is going to be 46 soon. You know, I'm going to be 42 soon. She doesn't need to maintain some mass sex appeal to the masses. I don't know. That shit is fucking disgusting and crazy to me, that there's this endless demand that you be sexy girl at it when you're almost 50.
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got laid.
That's it.
Burn. Got him, Piers.
That's it.
Fucking hell. Wait, is that the end of it?
I mean, that well, no. It's not the end of it, but I mean, that's the criticism.
That's like a tip. I hate to say it, but that's like a bitchy woman response. Oh, have you ever had sex?
Yeah.
Fucking incel. Durr.
It's like
bad.
when you tell a woman, "No, I don't want to have sex with you," and they're like, "'Cause you're gay." You're like, what? No, I'm not interested in you romantically because you're gay. It's like,
Yeah, what are you, gay or
what?
something?
What the fuck are you talking about? but yeah, this is that's a pretty common one, you know.
That's the
Wow.
thing, though. You boomers, it's
Do you think you're
always
an
get
expert in
laid,
women,
free love.
given you've never got laid?
Yeah, we are going back to the Stone Age. You're absolutely right. This, you know, you're talking.
You do realize it by this logic of this critique. Let's say Nick Fuentes gets up tomorrow and he's like, oh, and he dials like 1-800 send me a hooker, and they send a hooker over to his house and he bangs her. Can he then go back on Piers Morgan and be like, yeah, I've been laid, and yeah, I still hold all the same exact views? Is that the end of the criticism then? Is the criticism now done because Fuentes has experienced the guts of a hooker? Like, is now the criticism over with? It's like, it's so fucking, that's the worst criticism.
Talking about empathy and your kids are empathetic and they would never laugh at a joke about the Holocaust and you're a misogynist. You're a simp yourself. You're totally henpecked. That's the problem. So we are going back to the way
Let me play
things were.
another clip of yours about women.
A lot of women want to be raped. And when I say raped, I mean like, that sounds bad.
Mr. E, stop. It's very serious.
when I say it like that. But there's like a lot of women that really want a guy to beat the shit out of them. But also they have to pretend, but part of it is they have to pretend like they don't.
You think women
Reminds me of a joke, Andrew. You want to hear it? No? Yeah, you do. All right, so
Shut up.
want to be raped, do you?
That's what the studies show, Piers. That is what these statistics
that's what you
say.
believe,
They
is
have
it?
fantasies. They have fantasies about it. I don't think that they want to actually get raped, but there's a study out there. Get ready for this. It says 62% of women have rape fantasies. And if you read any
Pretty confident that him and Steven Crowder were just discussing this, and Crowder actually told him that. I'm pretty confident Crowder actually cited that exact statistic to him. It's one of the things that we went over is the what are called the Harlequin romance novels, right? And the smut peddling, that this is basically porn for women, right? Is the Harlequin romance novels. And inside of those types of romance novels, guess what a big theme is? Oh, I'm sure you'll never guess what the biggest theme is inside of it is what's called gradual submission, right? Which ties into these our fantasies essentially, and that's what his essential position is. Well, I don't know why Mystery is laughing. It's no fucking laughing matter. Piers
Yeah, no,
being
you're
a
right.
real good Catholic, telling people they're losers to wait till marriage. Yeah, true.
anything that they're reading, if you watched what they're watching, what do you think 50 Shades of Grey is about? What do you think Twilight is about? I mean, that's just true.
You think women want to have the shit beaten out of them, as you said?
Yeah, and it's very disturbing, but it's true.
Do you think your view
Women have different viewpoints on the way that they have sexual fantasies than the way that men have sexual fantasies. That's I mean, I don't even know how you get past that as being a true statement. It's uncomfortable to discuss and it's uncomfortable to talk about. I get that. But if you look at the type of pornographic material that they consume, you start to find this trend inside of that material, especially in the smut books. They read a lot of smut books, right? Men, it's true, we're more visual. So when we want our smut, we want to see them tig old bitties right on the porn box immediately beaming into our fucking eyeballs, right? That's the way that men do it. Women, not so much. They're looking for a kind of a big overarching fantasy-like experience. And inside of that fantasy-like experience, there's the idea of kind of the rough bad boy who comes in and makes them gradually submit, and they have all sorts of bizarre fantasies around it. Also, centaurs are often involved, and it's a fucking weird shit, okay? It's weird stuff.
Hey,
So-
are you kink shaming right now, Andrew?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, we know why you women pick the bear. Just saying. We've read the books.
We've read the books.
We know
okay?
why you picked the bear. You disgusting, dirty devil women.
views on women might change if you actually ever had a relationship with one or had sex and actually had a proper relationship? I mean, people say
Well, you know, I'm trying for a new baby every night. My views haven't changed a bit. I'm kidding. I'm joking. Calm down. That was a joke, Lee. Okay, that was me funning. Relax. Okay,
Jokey man
relax. Jokey man bad.
Jokey man
Relax.
bad.
All right, but the thing is like no, I don't think that they would. Women 99% of the time, yeah, it's bad. Also, women during intimacy. Okay, now hit me with the yeah. It's fucking weird, dude. Weird.
the reason you're so angry about women is you're basically an incel.
Well, I'm not angry about it.
You sound very angry. You sound very, very angry about women. They get
I'm passionate. It's an issue
You're
I'm
not passionate.
about.
You're sounding very bitter about women, as if women have done a terrible disservice to you. But when you don't have relationships, you don't have sex, when are they doing these terrible things to you that's made you so hateful towards women? I'm really curious.
So, I mean, what do you think, Mr. E? It's like, so What should he do? Should Nick just go back in the studio, in like 3 weeks and be like, "I just flopped my dick right in this chick's mouth," you know what I mean? Just get super graphic and be like, "And I had my way with her and it was great, and she left totally satisfied, and I still have the same fucking views about women. Now what, Piers?
I mean, that's what I'd do.
Now what, Piers?" You know
That
what I
sounds
mean?
like something I would do.
Yeah. "I bent that bitch over. Now what, Pierce? I think the same thing I thought before, Pierce."
Damn, bro.
That would be so fucking funny, though, dude. It would be. Like, ironically, that would be the most hilarious thing in the world. "Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I banged the crap out of her, threw her out the next morning after she made me an omelet. And I told her to go fly a fucking kite and never picked up the phone again. And I still think the same fucking thing, Pierce." I would fucking be dying laughing if he did that, dude. Just saying.
Was that? I don't think that was a hateful clip. I think I was laughing. I said they want men to beat the shit out of them, and that's just true. I mean, when you look at the state of modern women, all they do is lay in their bed, doom scroll. They're chilling out. They're getting a little They're getting a little fat. It is what it is. I don't know what the average weight is, but they're getting a little heavy. And any guy that is playing the field these days will tell you that. I mean, and I know a lot of the Chads. I am an incel. I'm friends with a lot of Chads like Bradley Martin, Clavicular. They agree with me. There's sort of like this alliance between the guys that don't have sex and the guys that get the most sex. We know what women are about. It's the guys in the middle. Guys like you in the middle. It's the beta male orbiters that say, "She's amazing. You're a misogynistic pig." Because I don't know what that is. I guess
Well, come on. Let me explain to you what I think it is. I think when a 27-year-old guy who's never got laid, never had a meaningful relationship with a woman, says that women shouldn't be allowed to vote, they should stay at home, that all they do is fantasize about being raped and being beaten up, that's what they want, that they're annoying, that they get fat, that they get ugly. That's a misogynist. Now, you may not understand.
I mean, you know what's ironic here? Is that there's got to be, I don't know how many millions of people are going to see this, but I already know in my head how this is going to go for most men out there. They're going to be driving down the road, right? A lot of them are going to be listening to this at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Like a long haul trucker. He's going to be listening to this exchange, and this guy is going to be fucking swerving all over the road. Piers Morgan made the roads dangerous for a couple of days because they're just going to be laughing their fucking asses off. They're going to be driving down the road. They're going to be swerving. They're going to be laughing their fucking asses off. And you saying that women could be fat and annoying and this and that. And he's like, "Yeah, I do think so." And they're going to be like, "Ha ha ha." They're going to be, these guys are not going to be able to stay on the road. Your headlight beams are going to be moving back and forth, right? This could actually kill people, to be perfectly honest with you. This could actually get people in horrific car accidents, because the fact of the matter is that these guys are going to be laughing hysterically. And maybe that was an unintended side effect of this. Just saying. Am I wrong, Mystery?
I'm just sighing audibly over here. I wish you would have let me say my joke earlier. I'm a little disappointed, to be honest.
Because your knowledge of women is so incredibly tiny, but actually you are the embodiment of a misogynist. It couldn't be clearer. And if I was in a way, you have the
not misogynistic enough,
deep-rooted misogyny of some of the actual boomers I know. Yet here you are, 27 years old. And most of the current studies show that a lot of men are really disenfranchised from society, no longer have physical relationships with women if they've ever had them, never associate with women, and build up instinctively misogynist views about women. And I fear you're in that position. You're just a bit of a lonely guy who wants to get laid and can't for whatever reason.
I don't think that if Nick wanted to go get laid, that he couldn't go get laid. It's not a great criticism. Haven't laughed this much in a while. Okay. That's objectively funny. I don't know what to tell you. It's funny. It is. That's actually fucking funny. He's like, "Yeah, they get fat. They're annoying." Blah, blah. It's like when Pearl Davis used to do that bit. It was fucking funny, okay? It was funny. You'd listen to it and be like, yeah, but those bitches are annoying. And I'd be like drinking coffee and spit some out because it was funny. As if having, what does that say? As if having stuff is going to give him, okay, gotcha. Having some pussy is going to give him some higher insight into women. What a simp viewpoint's true. Here's the thing. It's funny. Is like, you don't have sex and then suddenly you understand the psychology of women better. That's not how that works. Okay. Like, let's be honest here in the chat. Let's just be honest. How many of you in high school were having sex? Put a 1 in the chat. If you were in high school, you're a dude, right? I already assume all the women are going to put 1. But if you're a dude, you're in high school, you were having sex, just put a 1 in the chat. And I better see nothing but 1s because I know better. I know all of you were banging chicks when you were in high school. I know it. 100% know that that's the case, right? All of you were banging. All of you. Let's see it. Let's see it. Don't fucking bullshit me. Yeah, there we go. Don't you fucking bullshit me. There we go. Uh-huh. Look at all them 1s. It's a fucking sea of 1s. Yep. Sea of 1s. All of you fuckers. All of you fuckers. Just a contrarian too. That guy probably banged the most chicks in high school. The ones who put the 2s in there, they probably banged the most amount. But anyway, the point is here, now that we've established that this is the case, right? It did not give you any additional insights into women. It really doesn't give you these like great detailed insights into like how a woman's mind works. It only gives you insights into, well, that shit feels good. That's about it.
And it's made you bitter about women. And I don't know where that's come from, but it's fascinating.
No. See, here's the thing. First of all, you're very caught up in the labels. It's always, you're a racist, you're a misogynist.
You said you
these
were
words
a racist.
mean nothing to me. Oh, hang on. Whoa, can I respond?
You gave yourself the label.
What is this?
You said, I am a racist. I didn't give you the label.
Okay.
You said, Nick Fuentes, I am a racist.
Calm down. Calm down.
Did you or didn't you?
It's okay.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so
here's
I didn't give you the label. You did.
Why are you yelling at me?
Because you're trying to infer something that didn't happen. You said, I gave you the label of being a racist. No, you did. You said, I'm a racist. Okay. You gave yourself the label.
You're going to have to tone it down a little, all right? You're going to have to bring it down a notch and relax. This is just an interview, okay? Please calm down. All I said is you're hung up. I didn't say you gave me that. Maybe I did.
You did.
But here's what I mean. What I mean is you're just hung up on proving you're a misogynist. Okay, you're a racist. Okay, you denied the Holocaust. And I'm not about the labels,
man. You didn't deny the Holocaust.
Past that.
As I said to you, look, Nick,
he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. The idea that you're just going to say, oh, you're a this, and then be morally outraged is not a thing that Fuentes cares about. He doesn't give a shit. Okay? That's it. He doesn't care. I have to disagree. What's that? I have to disagree. Did it in high school, and it made me realize I was right the whole time. Man, this guy is like, I fucking hated women. And then I started having sex with them and I hated them more. That's really funny.
Oh, man. Okay, yo, that's actually legitimately funny.
Okay, that is fucking funny.
Yeah, congratulations to that guy. Good one.
I wanted to go over the stuff that everyone uses out there about you and get you to respond. And we are getting, I think, a long way in this interview.
Okay.
Right? You didn't deny the Holocaust. You accepted there's been a Holocaust of at least 6 million Jews.
I'm a maximalist. I'm a Holocaust.
That is significant.
I think it's more.
You did admit you're a racist, and you have spelled out a thought process about women, which is the purest definition of misogyny that I've ever seen. And you've said you're not gay. So we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Well, look, and I own the labels, okay? But I just don't care that much about them.
That's fine.
Yep, there we go. That's what I figured. He just doesn't care. All right, he doesn't give a shit about that. So the thing is like, as far as insights here go, I'm not sure that we got new insights. I'm not sure that we can really get insights without getting into the arguments and the things like this. And I don't think that we got into any of those. I was actually kind of shocked with this interview with Piers because I kind of was expecting them to tangle up. I was not expecting that it would just be are you a this, this, and a this, and when Nick's being like, yeah, sure, I don't care, call me whatever the fuck you want, I don't fucking care, and then moral outrage. Like you would think that there would be something more tangible there to that discussion and breakdown. There's not even any red meat for me to really break down because all we have is stated position, moral outrage. That's it. I like how Nick did the Italian, hey, whoa, it made me laugh. Yeah, look, I mean, some of this stuff is kind of funny, I must admit.
I feel like the whole
I'm not saying
this
you
is
have,
like a weird.
I'm not saying you
Yeah, go
have to
ahead.
care, Nick. You don't have to care about any of it. I promise you. Right? That's not why I got you on the show. I wanted to give you a fair crack, which I think I have. We've gone over a lot of stuff. We've got a bit more to go on. I genuinely don't think I've ambushed you with anything you couldn't have been expecting.
No.
I don't think I've been
not at
overtly
all.
hostile. In fact, when you've asked me to calm down, I've calmed down. I don't want to have a hostile, angry, shouty match with you. I simply want you to spell out exactly what you've meant about all these things, and people can then be the judge of them. So let's take another break, and we'll come back and talk about Donald Trump, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and others.
Yeah, I want to dive into this a little bit here too.
You began your show in 2017, the same year as Trump was inaugurated for his first term in office. You supported him at that time, but you've grown increasingly disillusioned, I think it'd be fair to say. Let's play a recent clip from you about Trump.
We played this game in the first term. We're 10 years in. And you still have these people, I hate to say it, but they're just like in denial. And they're like, okay, everybody, let's all go on Twitter and let's tell Trump, don't screw over your voters. Okay. Hey, Trump, don't hire John Ratcliffe in the CIA. Like, what are we doing? We lost. It's over. The time to make demands was during the election when he needed the votes. He's a lame duck president. He doesn't need anything from us. He's not even on Twitter. He's on Truth Social. So what are you talking about? We're going to all rally and tell him, don't hire yet another neocon?
Now, over the weekend, you posted this on X. You said performative cruelty is the perfect phrase to characterize the Trump admin and the mood of the MAGA movement. In order to compensate for his compromises and failures, Trump has to fall back on mean-spiritedness to appeal to the basest instincts of its followers. It's really sad. I mean, do you think you're the best person, Nick Fuentes, to lecture people about performative cruelty?
Why? Are you accusing me of being cruel? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Well, this took a turn. I didn't actually catch this part of it. So this should be interesting. I wasn't able to watch this whole thing, mostly just the beginning portions. But Piers here is making the accusation of cruelty directly. In the old MSM paradigm, if you got your guests to label themselves a racist misogynist, you destroyed them forever in the eyes of the boomer audience. Those things mean nothing to Nick and his support. Yeah, they don't care. They don't give a shit. And they've never given a shit. And it's one of the things which, what do you fuckers call it? What do you dumbass Zoomers in the chat call it? And yes, you Zoomers are fucking stupid. You heard what I said. You fucking heard what I said. What do you call it? Aura? Aura. Is that what they call it, Mr. E? Aura? That's what gives him his aura?
Charisma.
Charisma, his riz.
That's what aura is.
Is that he
Charisma,
doesn't
riz,
he
aura,
doesn't
it's
give
the
a
same
shit. Yeah, he doesn't give a shit about the label. Like it just
Yeah,
doesn't mean anything to him, right? He doesn't care. He's always just like, yeah, I don't give a shit. Right? I don't care.
How am I cruel?
You're cruel about black people. You're cruel about women. I mean, you're cruel about a lot of people, and you're very performative.
Okay. I don't think I'm performative. If anything, everyone else is performative. I'm authentic. You know, whatever you want to say about me, it's real. It's from the gut. But yes, I do think it's
No, 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 no. No, 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 chat. No, no, no. I know that you guys think that I'm supposed to pander to Zoomer. Zoomers are fucking stupid. I'm sorry. You're fucking idiots. You really are. Some of you are really smart. Some of you are smart. I agree with that. Right? I've met some really smart Zoomers, but most of you are too fucking stupid to put cheese on my fucking burger. Most of you are so fucking stupid you don't know what no mustard means. How hard could it possibly be to make a fucking cheeseburger at McDonald's with no mustard? How is that difficult? Why is this so complex for you fucking autistic fucking Zoomers, dude? You just don't put the fucking mustard on the burger. How hard could that be?
Why would you not want mustard on your burger, though? What's
It
wrong
doesn't
with you?
matter. It doesn't matter why I
eat
don't
the
want it
mustard.
on
It's
there.
the
I
best
just
part of the
don't want it.
burger.
I don't fucking want it. You don't put it on the fucking burger.
Bro, that's an L for you. I'm just saying.
It's a fucking L for you, bro.
No, you.
Yeah, that's right.
performative. And what I mean by that is, you know, when they're doing the deportations, they know the deportations are not where the base wants them to be. They deported, the figures are disputed, but from my data, it's 300,000 in the year, which is not.
Andrew's officially obtained UNC status after saying aura. What a stupid Zoomer thing to say. What a dumb Zoomer thing. I mean, I am an uncle, though, so I guess I should have UNC status since I have nieces and nephews. I am an uncle, right?
Massive deportation. They know the base is unhappy with that. So what do? The deportations that they are carrying out, they do a big spectacle and they arrest everybody.
No, fuck you, man. That's not degenerate. That's not degenerate. What about people who only get mustard burgers? That's fucking degenerate. What kind of sick fuck only wants to taste mustard on their burger? It doesn't enhance the flavor. It's all you can taste. You can't taste anything but the fucking mustard. You might as well just take a mustard bottle and squeeze it directly into your mouth. What the hell is wrong with you? Bro, they even got AI drive-through attendants and they still fuck up the order. Zoomers are cooked. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with them. I have no idea what the fuck is wrong with them. But they're dumb as fuck. Zoomers are fucking stupid. Okay? And I'm not ever gonna say anything different than that because they are. But I guess when I was younger, I was stupid too. When I was in my 20s, I was a fucking idiot too. But I could make a cheeseburger. I mean, holy fuck, I could make a cheeseburger to McDonald's. It was one of my first jobs. It was like 13 or 14 or something. I didn't even have to be trained. You know, I went through the drive-through, I don't know how many times with my parents for Happy Meals and shit when I was growing up. You didn't even have to train me. I knew the script. Welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order, please? I knew the script. You didn't have to fucking teach me nothing. Yeah, eat that mustard. Shut up, fucking dick. Fucking what a dick. What a dick. Who raised them? Nah. Look. Okay, the Gen Xers, well, not the boomers who had all the millennial kids, right? And some of the Gen Xers, I guess, did too, right? They weren't helicopter parents. They basically didn't even bother with their kids. We were all fucking latchkey kids, okay? All of us were latchkey kids. We went home and nobody was ever fucking there, okay? Our parents were working and shit like that. We raised ourselves. I don't want to hear shit. I don't want to hear nothing. Parents would get home, you know, you would tell them about your day, then they'd tell you about theirs, and, you know, they'd help you with whatever your daily problems were, and that was about it. That was how it went. The rest of the time, it was like you just left, you didn't come back till the lights were out. I don't want to hear anything about how it's in, you know, fucking, we were raised by millennials, and that's why we're all fucking. It's like, give me a fucking break, right? Millennials weren't raised. They were raised by wolves, okay? They were raised by wolves and single moms, too.
And they film it and they put a hype at it. And there's a meanness in there. They played that song, I think from Sabrina Carpenter or something, and they make it a joke. They make it glib. And they do that because they're not delivering on the promise. So they compensate by doing it meaner, edgier.
This is so true, dude. It's like, in retrospect, it's embarrassing. But it is true. Like, if you were out playing and you got thirsty, you couldn't just like go. Sometimes you'd be, you know, a mile away from the house. You would go over and drink out of somebody's garden hose. It happened all the fucking time. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody cared. Nobody cared at all. maybe that's why we're all immunocompromised. Wasting my money just to say this. At least we can reset the internet or figure out how to work a smart TV. I hear this criticism a lot. Isn't it funny, though, how I seem to see all the millennials always going to their parents and being like, I can't figure out how to make a fucking account for Amazon and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that you're as technologically savvy as you let on, as you Zoomers let on. Okay. I don't think so. Don't think that you're as technologically developed as you pretend.
More mean-spirited so that the base will overlook the fact that it's not happening. And I think that's by definition performative cruelty.
Okay,
You can call me a hypocrite.
Hang on. We found the stupid one, right? You were one of the dumb ones. You says hot hose water. You fucking idiot. You fucking idiot. You leave the hose run for a good minute and then it gets to the cold water, stupid. You never drink out of it immediately. It has water in it. The hose is fucking hot, right? So the water travels through the hot hose. It comes out fucking hot. It's been in the sunlight. You have to wait until the hose cools down from the inside and then you drink out of the hose, you fucking tard. You were one of those kids. You were one of those kids who we all had to make fun of because you didn't understand that you had to wait to drink the hose water.
Yeah, he's definitely the pole guy.
You're like the epitome of the marshmallow experiment, man. You have no impulse control and you drank the hot hose water because you're fucking dumb.
But it's definitely true about what they're doing in the administration.
You went to see Trump at Mar-a-Lago with Ye for dinner. What was that like?
It was very interesting. They're my two heroes. Ye is my hero. Trump is my hero. Even though he's very disappointing, I still have a personal hero of mine. And he's a remarkable person. It was a great conversation. We got along pretty well. He liked me. I liked him. It was a love fest.
I mean, he got attacked afterwards for supping with the white supremacist devil. I mean, do you accept you are a white supremacist?
No, absolutely not.
You don't think white people are superior to black people?
No, I'm a Christian, so I believe everybody is equal before God.
Including women?
Yes.
So you give women equal rights, then?
These are conflating two different issues. One's an ontological argument, and one is an argument of privilege, which is what rights are. They're privileges. Now, you guys can argue that they're not. We have rights from God, blah, 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 blah. What you really have rights from is force, and that's it. And so it's who has the enforcement arm, who enforces these privileges, because that's what they fucking are. And so this is a great conflation. I've heard this a million times. You know what I mean? You're like, look, ontologically, in the eyes of God, every man is set to atone the same way, and every man's knee is going to bow, and every man is considered equal in status, ontological status, and every woman too. That's different than when you're assigning societal social roles and you're assigning rights to people based on those dynamic social roles. It's a terrible argument. It's a very progressive leaning argument that leads nowhere, and it's very basic. In some ways, it's disappointing. Most Zoomers don't even know what the green handle at the gas pumps are. Wait, what is the green handle? What's that? What is that?
No.
Great.
No.
Great. Okay. So you just talked a lot of bullshit, didn't you?
No. Why are you like mad about this? No.
You want women
and
to be
men are
treated
different.
equally before God, but you don't want to give them equal rights.
Yeah, because women
Okay,
and men
that's
are
fine.
different.
Look,
Do you
it's your
believe there are
view.
two genders?
It's your view.
Do you think there's two genders?
I do think there are two genders, yes.
Okay. And so you mean there's distinction. There are two distinct genders.
I think we should all have the same rights to...
Well, if they're meaningfully distinct by
And by the way, on cross-examination, Piers actually would not believe that everybody is entitled to the same rights. I guarantee you that under scrutiny, this position would fall apart very quickly. No, not everybody is allowed to have them. Like, what about prisoners? Can prisoners have the right to own a gun? No, exactly. You're saying that that's a privilege which can be suspended from you inside of society based on some egregious nature that you did to lose said privilege. It's like, so you don't believe that everybody equally is entitled to rights. That's fucking stupid. So Fuentes' argument here, which he's leading into, is that because there's a distinction between men and women, there's different social roles which are assigned to men and women. This means that when we're doling out the idea of rights, we should take that into consideration. That's a reasoned position.
Logically distinct and they have different social and biological roles, I think it would follow that we would treat them a little bit differently in the law.
Do you think
That's
the
me,
Catholic
though.
Church's teachings reflect that?
Yes. Yes, they do, in fact. While I don't think that the Catholic Church's teachings focus on ethnophilatism at all, especially not now, and neither do Orthodox teachings. That's what they call it, right? Ethnophilatism. Is that it? Is that the right word? Where you focus on ethnicity over the church itself or over Christianity itself. They don't follow that model, but they definitely follow the model of there being a distinction between the roles of men and women. No mustard on a burger is almost as bad as pineapple on pizza. No, it's not, you scumbag. They're not, these are not equivalent at all. Okay. Not equivalent at all.
I do. Yeah, there's
Really?
no female priests. Have you ever seen that?
Do you think that the Catholic Church thinks all women should be deprived of the vote?
Well, I don't think that the Catholic Church has made a prescription, a faith-based prescription on people voting at all. So I don't think that that's inside of Catholic dogma. The idea of voting in general is not a dogmatic belief. That's a political structured belief. It has nothing to do with dogma itself. So I don't think that there is any dogma that I'm aware of in the Catholic Church around the ideas of voting specifically. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I think so.
No, they don't.
I think they do. Yeah.
You think the Catholic Church position is women shouldn't be allowed to vote?
I think so. Yeah,
No.
but I'm not positive.
No, it's bullshit.
I think that might have been a slight fumble on Fuentes' part there. I don't think that the dogma reflects the political system one way or the other. Like, I don't think. Now, I'll have to go look myself to see if this is the case or not before I levy a criticism. But I don't think that there's Catholic dogma which supports whether or not voting is some sort of like human right that everybody's supposed to have or not, which is ingrained in the church at all. So you guys can fact check me on that, but I think that is the case, that they don't make the affirmative claim that people must be able to vote as part of the dogma itself of the church. I don't believe that that's the case. I'm Catholic. There is no position. That makes sense to me. That makes more sense to me. Why would they take a dogmatic position on a limited political basis? That's silly, right?
Oh, it should be.
It should be. So if you were Pope, that's what you do. You could be Pope because you're celibate.
That's true. And I'm also from Chicago, like the Pope. But look,
Right.
I mean, women, it says in the Bible that women have no authority over men and they can't teach men. And that's why there's no female priests.
There's a lot of
So I
things in
don't
the
think
Bible.
the Catholic-
I mean,
Well, again, on the dogma there's a lot of nuance especially when you're talking about the letters between Paul and Timothy. You have to remember that Timothy was fighting a war, a physical war as much as a spiritual war against the cult of Artemis in Ephesus. And this cult was basically a female-led, a natalist style cult. That's what they were. That's what the cult of Artemis was. They were worshiping basically a reproduction deity. In this case, we would consider that reproduction demon, right? With demonic ends. And there was a silver trade which was going on at the time. And these people were terrified of Christianity inside of Ephesus because of this, right? Because of this whole idea of Christians coming in and wrecking the silver trade for idols, I believe. So that was the whole problem. So Paul is very clear. He's like, look, we don't want these women basically who are priestesses and things like this to be corrupting the message of Christianity. And that's what they were doing inside of these churches. So he's like, you're not allowed to go in and and tell people what's what, right? You're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to have dominion over the men, right? Because there was a corrupting element which was going on there. Yeah, literally witches, right? So, Mr. E, can you pull that up? Cult of Artemis, real quick.
Will do.
Yeah, Cult of Artemis. I'll just fact check myself real quick and make sure that I got that all correct. But I think that that's correct. That they were fighting against a cult, which was basically a fertility demon, and it
Cult
was
of Artemis.
Mhm.
Significant religious phenomenon in ancient Greece centered on the Olympian goddess of hunting, wild animals, childbirth, fertility, and the moon.
Yep.
Artemis was worshipped across Greece with numerous shrines and temples, particularly in regions like Attica.
Okay, and then look it up in Ephesus. Cult of Artemis in Ephesus.
And Ephesus?
Hmm.
Ephesus, okay. Was one of the most significant religious and cultural phenomena in the ancient Mediterranean world. Artemis, known to the Romans as Diana, was considered the most powerful deity in Ephesus, serving as the city's primary patron and symbol.
And where was that? Ephesus.
Yeah, in Ephesus.
Yeah. So I was correct, right? This
Yeah.
again. This is brushing
Smoky
up
man,
on
smart.
brushing up on theology 101. But yeah, that was what was going on. And Timothy, who was the bishop there, he was having a huge struggle. They were, these people were imprisoning Christians and persecuting them and everything else. And women, especially female priestesses, were becoming a significant problem. And that's why it was decreed that there's no dominion uh, that women are to have over men in the church. And that decree came down, and it followed, by the way, from multiple apostles of Christ, not just Paul. And it also is reflective inside of the church structure of Jesus Christ. So, I mean, in this particular case, like there's a lot of nuance going into this as to why this is the case and why you don't want women leading churches. Look at how they act now. They have their fucking crystals, and the witchcraft in the United States is very much alive, man. It's very much alive. It's probably larger than it's ever been since the big kind of occult uprisings in the late 1800s between the Protestants starting all these various occults and side occults. I can't tell you how many women I talk to who practice some form of witchcraft. They practice crystals. They practice, all this shit. We talk to them on TikTok all the time, constantly. Okay. Constantly we talk to them. And so the thing is like inside of that mode, you see the kind of spiritual corruption. It goes all the way back to the idea of Eve, the fact that you can become spiritually corrupted and move that to the head, which is the man. That's why you're not to have dominion or authority in spiritual matters over the man. And we saw that play out in Ephesus. That was the whole point with the cult of Artemis. We saw that play out in real time. That's why, from a Christian worldview, this is so important, and why I hate the fucking sewing circle Christians. I know that I'm not supposed to hate. I know that, but nothing like no progressive on planet Earth makes me as angry as a sewing circle Christian. They don't know any of this shit. They have no idea that this is even the case. They just think that Paul was a big meanie head, and so was Timothy, and that they didn't understand what was going on. They knew exactly what the fuck was going on. They knew exactly what was happening. These were not stupid people. Paul especially was not a stupid person at all. He wasn't a great public speaker, but he wasn't a stupid man by anybody's metric. Very smart, educated guy. He knew a lot about the world because he had traveled in it for a long time. He had been shipwrecked. He'd had horrible things happen to him. He was routinely beaten horribly. He had a real rough time of it, a real rough go. And he saw that there was a poison element in the idea of spiritualism, which usually came from the confounded nature of women being so easily led into these occult groups. That's why Christianity, from the traditional role of the church, says that men have to be the head. And that's very important. The cult of Sibyl was really messed up too. Yes, it was. Cybele, I think, or Cybele, or I don't know. But yeah, he knew, man. Why do women gravitate towards these real weird rituals and practices? Because women practice power differently than men. They practice it very differently than men. Men practice a strong power, right? Or what would be considered like force, right? Would be the power dynamic that men can always allude to that women cannot. Women can't appeal to force itself. And it's very difficult for them to collectivize force on their behalf as well, unless it's through machinations and manipulation. The whole idea of why women are so easily corrupted by spiritualism is because it makes them feel very powerful. It makes them feel like they have a lot of control and dominion over their environment and the people around them. That's why magic is so appealing to them. Oh, I put this out in the ethos. I remember it was Isabella DeLuca. She was viciously attacking me, siding with an abortionist, right? Who told my wife she should kill her kids. That's what this abortionist said to my wife, because then she'd be seen as less promiscuous. Horrible fucking woman to say something like that, right? And I knew where that was going. But I remember DeLuca, right? She said, "Praise God that people are attacking the Wilsons so viciously." That's basically what her message was. Now, the idea there is what, right? That you ask God to come in and do your dirty work for you, and he did. That's where the idea of power dynamics comes into play in spiritualism for women. Makes them feel very powerful to put these messages out to the universe or whatever, and then bad things happen to somebody. And because bad things happen to everybody, it's the same thing you'll find with numerology and their predictions and all sorts of witchcraft positions, which is they wish harm on you. And then at some point, like every human, something bad happens to you. And then they're able to take responsibility for that. Look, I caused this. I did this to you. That was due to my magical powers that happened. And it's a feeling of control and a feeling of power. And that is why ultimately it comes down to the idea of pride. And that's why women, I think, are so easily spiritually corrupted. So I know that we went off on kind of a deviation there, right? But this is just what I've seen experientially. But the data, which shows the amount of witchcraft in the United States, is fucking staggering. At least if you would utilize my definition of witchcraft, which would include sorcery, soothsaying, astrology, tarot cards, I consider all of that to be witchcraft. All of it. 100% all of that is witchcraft.
Do you take every word of the Bible as sacrosanct?
Well, yeah, it's inspired scripture.
That's all of
But I
it.
mean, is this now
All of it is
a
sacrosanct.
theological debate? Well, it is Catholic doctrine that women should not lead and teach. I mean, you're not interacting with what I'm saying. Why can't women be priests?
They should be.
Huh? I thought he was Catholic. Andrew, I'm confused.
I need a drink. Now I'm becoming morally outraged. Now I'm becoming morally outraged.
Should we cue up Smoky Man Bad or what?
This is
That's true. And I'm also from Chicago, like the Pope. But look,
Right.
I mean, why can't women be priests?
They should be.
the dogmatic distinction here should be noted. There is a case that can be made from the Catholic side that they could go after Nick on the idea of ethnocentrism, right? While I think that he would be able to perhaps successfully argue that position from his end, I can at least understand going after him on that position from the Catholic apologetic side. What Morgan just said is indefensible from a Catholic dogmatic principled perspective. Women are not allowed in the Roman Catholic Church or in the Orthodox Church to be priests, period, nor deacons. Now, I understand many people have pointed to me, no, the Catholic Church is allowing women here. And I look into those stories, and 90% of the time they're bullshit. Let's be real, right? The Catholic Church's official position still to this day, as far as I'm aware, is that women are not allowed to be priests inside of the church, inside of the Roman Catholic Church. While I may have disputes with Roman Catholicism, the last thing I like to or want to do is attack positions from the position of a straw man, right? The very idea. Now, I remember I was talking with John Fugelsang about this during our debate about why we had deaconesses in the early church and what that meant. And it was largely due to baptisms. They weren't allowed to have any dominion over men still. They were deaconesses only so that they could baptize naked women, because baptism was done in the nude. And so obviously that was inappropriate for men to be putting their hands all over the naked body of somebody's wife. It would have very much offended the pagan sensibilities, the delicate sensibilities of most men, which I understand. So they were able to have deaconesses to perform that role without giving them any authority or dominion in the church proper, which I understand the nuance of that position as well. If for every mustard burger you ate, there was one less Sewing Circle Christian, how many mustard burgers would you eat? I'd eat all the mustard burgers, bro. Every one of them. Every one of them. So yeah, anyway. So this is why you really have to understand the kind of dogmatic distinctions. And I'm still a Padawan learner myself, right? But I've taken to really trying to study as much in the way of theological positioning as I possibly can, because it comes up all the time and often. And I found out real quick that I'm much better equipped to deal with many of these criticisms than most people, just because I know what actually happened. It's helpful. Piers said, do you consider everything in the Bible to be sacrosanct? Well, the Roman Catholic dogmatic perspective is very similar to the Orthodox on this. Yes, it's true. Yes, it's allegorically true and actually true, right? And the messaging is true. All of that is true. Now, there could be distinctions in how we view like the Pope and things like this. And there's other distinctions when it comes to other forms of dogma, like the Filioque, for instance. But that's neither here nor there. Here, Fuentes is correct. The dogmatic teachings, as far as I'm aware of Roman Catholicism, is that women are not to be priests, period.
Okay, well, you're not Catholic. That's not a Catholic
I am
position.
a Catholic. Many things I disagree with the Catholic Church.
Okay. Well, that kind of is contrary, because the whole basis of being Catholic is accepting. It's accepting the authority of the pontiff.
You can be a member of a religion and disagree with parts of that religion. Perfectly reasonable.
You could be, well, yeah. I mean, you could say
Unless you're an
that, but it wouldn't be
extremist.
true.
If you're an extremist, you can't.
Okay.
Obviously, you never deviate.
That's just not rigorous.
You never
That's just
deviate if
sloppy.
you're an extremist. But even the Constitution,
That's just sloppy.
even the Constitution's been amended. Was it 27 times? People talk about this sacrosanct document. It's been amended 27 times.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my, this is not rigorous intellectually. This is very
Just
this is
a statement of
tabloid
fact.
theology. Okay, but it's fine. Where were we? We were talking about Trump, and somehow
well,
we got
on
into
Trump,
you're
look,
white
on
knighting
Trump-
for women's rights.
On Trump, well, I think women should have the same rights as you and I. You don't. That's fine.
Put on the pink hat, bro. Put on the pink hat.
Yeah, please. Why, thank you. What are we, 3 hours into this stream? I think that you guys should at least finish off the dono chat. What the hell is wrong with you? It's because I've been yapping too much. That's why. It's because I said a $20 standard. That's why.
We're waiting.
What's the pink hat for?
For the march, for the women's march. Are we going to see you at the women's march protesting for women's rights and all that?
I think women should have
fuck
equal
is
rights
this?
to men. Period.
You carry tampons in case your female friends get a period or something?
All right, this is pretty good. Not this drink, but this, whatever's going on here, is kind of funny. But what the fuck is this? Just give me a bourbon on the rocks, woman. I don't know what the fuck this is. Yeah. I mean, I'm still going to drink it, but I don't know what the fuck it is.
Something like it's crazy. The
I'd
white
have no
knighting
problem.
is
I'd have no problem
diabolical.
giving a female friend a tampon. Would you? Have you ever? I don't suppose you've ever seen a tampon, have you?
Gross. Absolutely not.
You
Get
think
that away
you think
from me.
tampons are gross?
Yeah, they're filled with period blood. Yeah, it's kind of gross.
Wow.
Are you into that? You like that?
So now we're just in the trolling mode from both sides. Piers trolling and Fuentes trolling back.
Have you
Have you ever
got
seen
a lot
it?
of tampons?
I don't think you've ever seen it, have you?
I've seen them. I've
Oh,
seen
you
them
have?
before.
You've been that close
Yeah.
to a woman? Really?
No, I've seen them.
What the fuck? Why do you need to be around women to see? Like, there's if you go into the toiletry aisles in a store, you see tampons. What the fuck is he talking about?
Apparently, one of these people grocery shops, and the other one. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into that, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's not an uncommon sight in a grocery store to see tampons and
Yeah.
Tampax and shit. At the pharmacy too. For some reason, every man has this problem. Anytime they've ever been to a CVS pharmacy and they're walking back, for some fucking reason, they always put the pharmacy in the back left of the store. And so directionally, we see the pharmacy from the front of the store. So we go all the way to the left. And then, because the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So we go all the way to the left, and then we go all the way down the aisle so that we can get right to the pharmacy. And every fucking time they put the feminine hygiene products on that aisle. Every fucking time. I have no idea why. I think it's a conspiracy. I think that CVS and other pharmacies are conspiring to make men gross the fuck out all the time because we have to walk down the Tampax fucking pads aisle every fucking time we want to go pick up our prescription for headache medicine because our wives are driving us crazy. Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's a fucking conspiracy. You grifter, take it and like it. I will.
Look, I
Oh, you've seen
I
videos?
used to live with
I
women,
bet
so
you've
I've seen them around the
I
house.
bet you've seen videos, haven't you?
What? What are we doing here, Piers?
I'm not
you
sure.
You really hate that
I'm not sure,
You're
Mick.
more impressed that I'm a misogynist than you are about anything. It's
Not
very
really.
revealing.
I'm actually more exercised about your blatant, self-admitted racism than I'm about anything. But the misogyny runs a close second. Let me ask you about Tucker Carlson, because you had a long sit down with Tucker Carlson, in which he was, oddly, I like Tucker, we got on well, I was with him last week in London, but he gave me a harder time than he gives you. And then afterwards, he was more critical. And then you said this about Tucker.
Well, see, couldn't this criticism be kind of laid back at Piers Morgan's feet when he says, well, you gave, Tucker Carlson gives me a harder time than he gives you. Well, couldn't the same criticism be like, well, you're giving Nick a much harder time than you give Tucker? Couldn't you give the same exact criticism back? Like this, it's like into a mirror darkly, right?
He's a handler. He handles people. That's what he does. He's a fucking liar and a handler. He goes around telling people, I don't know anything. I don't know. Oh, I know nothing. I don't even have a phone. I am just a clueless tourist. I just travel to all these countries and, I don't trust him. And I don't care, maybe that alienates me from people in the conservative movement. I don't care. I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm not going to be a party to whatever that is. Whatever that CIA bullshit is, I'm not going to be a part of it. So, now that I've heard enough from Tucker and I've heard enough from other people and I've seen enough, this guy's not who he says he is. Not an ally. Stay the fuck away from me. You're weird, dude. You're weird.
See, what would have been great is if you'd said that to him when you were sitting opposite him.
What?
Well, when I was sitting opposite him at the dinner and in the interview, he was nothing but nice. He was very nice to me and very...
Let me have a bourbon, just a straight bourbon on the rocks.
You want me to take that away?
No, I'll leave this too, but I would like to have a little bourbon on the rocks. I don't know what the hell. It's like, cherry soda water. I see. I get it. I understand, but I still want a bourbon on the rocks.
Cordial, and he didn't call me an anti-Semite, and he didn't even press me on it at all. And I thought he would, and I almost wanted him to. He was nothing but nice, and we had a great time. We had a really great dinner, really great interview, and I felt really good about it. And the next week on my show, I said, he really surprised me. He's great. And then every interview he's done since, all he does is call me an anti-Semite. He goes, well, I hate his anti-Semitism. And, I wonder why people like him. And so I just think that's two-faced. So after that experience, it kind of turned me off. I didn't like that, but he's going to do what he's going to do. He's still a nice guy, but I think he's two-faced.
What about Candace Owens?
Well, so I was kind of shocked at this particular criticism against Carlson, as it did seem like Carlson had Fuentes on, basically let him get his viewpoints out there. But what I was unaware of, and I guess this is on me because I don't really follow, I don't follow every, like when you're a content maker, you don't always have time to follow everything that these other creators are out there doing, right? You just don't have time. Like I have my own shit I got to deal with, right? My own shit I got to deal with, my own community to manage. Like we have a lot of shit going on. So I was not actually aware that Carlson was doing that. And so now at least I understand why Nick was so pissed off at the guy.
You had a sit down with her. She called you out on a few of your more incendiary comments. You've been attacking her quite virulently recently. What's going on there?
Well, let me tell you what's going on there. She's a fucking nutcase. That's what's going on there. She's batshit fucking Looney Tunes crazy. That's what's going on there. She has a whole bunch of fucking theories and nonsense under the I'm just asking questions nomenclature. It's all bullshit. It's all nonsense. Every time I fact check anything this woman says, it turns out that it's not fucking true. And all of her illusions and delusions are untrue too. I'm sure that does piss this guy off. I'm sure it does. Because I look at it and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? You fucking crazy broad. What are you talking about? The fuck are you talking about? You're an idiot. So yeah, I understand. Completely understand the vitriol there against Candace Owens. She is by far one of the dumbest fucking people I've ever heard speak. She really is. Now, people are always going after her audience, though. They're always like, well, there are a bunch of conspiratards and this and that and blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, I don't think so. I've talked to people there's people who watch The Crucible and then watch Candace Owens as well. And some of them are very smart, very informed people. And they get upset about government narratives being consistently false all the fucking time. And so they do want somebody out there kind of asking hard questions and things like this, and they follow that, and they think that it has value. I don't think that because you're a member of Owen's audience, you're a stupid person by any means. But I do think that she is a stupid person, honestly. Just a stupid fucking person. I don't think that she has any compelling arguments for any of the positions she has. And I don't think that any of these various things that she's been alluding to have any truth to them at all, because every time I look into it, there's no facts there to back any of the bullshit up she's talking, ever. Am I the only one that can't help but wonder there's a small chance that Piers is purposely kamikazing this interview to bolster Nick F in 1SB? I don't think so. I don't think that that's what's going on, but thank you for the $100 super chat. It's very kind of you. Do you think it's possible that Piers has been viewed as too right-wing recently for his own safety from the British authorities, using this opportunity to appease them and show he's one of them? I think that you should be cautious about attributing complex motivations to things which usually have simple motivations. Most people have simple motivations behind the things that they do. This constantly is attributed to me too, that there's some like grandiose chess plan that's going on in the background and, and this kind of thing and blah, 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 blah. My motivations are actually quite simple and I lay them out constantly, but I think people just like the idea that, motivations are super complex because that creates these kind of webs that can be followed and people find that interesting. But I don't think that that's the case. I think that Morgan is not really acting out of character here. Piers Morgan has been basically covering center progressive politics for like 30 years. He's a center progressive. That's it. That's his political stance. He's center progressive. That's what he does. I don't think that this is some big, mask off moment for Piers. I think that he's consistent within his ideological worldview. I've heard him take people to task before in his show where he thinks that they're racist or they're misogynistic or too misogynistic for their own good, whatever, and attack that from the center progressive view. I'm not seeing anything new here from the Morgan perspective. The thing that I've appreciated about Morgan, Piers Morgan, is he's always had me on. He's always treated me as though I'm a valued guest, which I appreciate, and he allows me to argue my worldview with other people, and I've always appreciated that about the show, and I still appreciate that about the show. I appreciate that they have these panels and they invite me to it so that I can tangle up with these progressives. My analysis here about whether or not I think that he's doing a great job or not has nothing to do with whether or not I like Uncensored, because I do like Uncensored and I enjoy going on that show quite a bit. I enjoy arguing and I enjoy the fact that he has these various worldviews on. You even have to give him credit that he had Fuentes on at all. That's a very risky thing for people to do. So you have to give credit where credit's due, even if you don't personally like the guy or his politics. I don't like his politics, but I've always appreciated the fact that he allows me to go on to argue my side of the worldview. Now, I understand you can make the case, well, that's because you bring in lots of views and lots of clicks and blah, 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 blah. I get that too, but I'm still appreciative of the platform. Okay. I am.
Well, it's me and her. We're so complicated. We're on and off. It's very passionate on both sides. I think there's this intense desire to be friends, but a frustration where we disagree with each other. There's a rivalry. But I thought we were going to have a friendly conversation, and then she kind of did the same thing. We're going to go on a show during the war with Iran. We're literally in the middle of a war. And she texted me the day before the United States bombed Fort O. And she said, would you like to come on my show? I said, absolutely. I said, is this going to be about Iran? She goes, I don't do setups. I said, yeah, let's do it. I come on the show, and then she's like got this weird hostile demeanor. She's doing the clip thing. Then she puts it behind a paywall. It was ridiculous. So that really was not nice. And then I think this whole Charlie Kirk thing, I think she's gone insane. I think she's absolutely lost her mind. So I feel sorry for her husband.
I think she has lost her mind, but I'm not going to bring her husband into it because that's not my concern. My concern is what she says. Somebody also asked me, blah, 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 blah. This is the longest Glaze session I've ever seen Andrew go on. That Piers engagement must have been high. LOL. Shut the fuck up, dude. Give me a break. All I'm doing is giving an analytical breakdown. You people, some of you guys are so fucking ideologically captured that if you give any sort of fair analysis about anything, then that means that that you're doing something bad or nefarious or something like that. And it's like, just fuck off. One thing about me is my views have been consistent for years. For years, they've been consistent. And I can give the candid analysis if I see fit. And if you don't like it, you can fuck off too, man, because I haven't changed a bit. Now, the other thing here that's important to look at is a chatter just asked me if I've given my take on the Tim Pool thing yet, his quitting. The Timcast IRL. I've known that was coming for a while, right? I've talked with Tim, and he's I wish him the very best. Tim is in a bad position. He has people who are attempting to assassinate him. That's what's happening. And he has a new child, and he has a family now, and he's looking after the interest of the whole, not just himself. And I understand completely why it would be that he would want to do something a bit more easygoing and less stressful, so he had more time at home with his family, and also didn't put them in the position to be politically assassinated because somebody's gunning for him, and instead get one of his family members instead. Okay? I get it. I understand completely. And I wish Tim the best of luck. Now, he may change his mind. He may decide that he's going to continue to do this or bring it back by popular demand or something like that. Okay? He may do that too. I don't think he's completely settled in his mind. But the guy is having a huge conflict right now. And I understand what the conflict is. He has a brand new baby, man. He has a brand new baby at home. And he has wealth. He doesn't have to do this anymore. You know, I think his stuff's all paid up. I'm not sure, but I think it is. And I think that if he even just did like a kind of more routine thing without having the IRL guests on all the time and things like this, that it would free up more time for him to spend with his family in the formative years of his child's life. And so he has kind of this great choice that he has to make. As a very successful business operator and as a very successful independent media source who is beloved by hundreds of thousands of people or millions worldwide. And the choice is, do I continue down this path where I risk the very idea of political assassination during the formative years of my child, which is exactly what happened to Charlie Kirk? Or do I back off and focus on something a bit more low key and focus instead in the formative years of my family? And if he decides that he wants to do that, I think that you should 100% support that because that's not a cowardice. It's the opposite. You know, unfortunately, in this industry, it comes down to a choice. And sometimes you make the choice and they're hard choices to make. He has a major impact on culture. And losing him from that kind of impactful cultural battle is going to be very tough for people. It is. And he's not going to be an easy guy to replace in that media sphere. He's very well known and he's very well trusted. Even his haters to a degree trust him. But he has every right to decide that he wants to back off and spend his time with his family as he sees fit. He has every right to do that. And if that's what he wants to do, I support him 100% and wish him the very best because he was doing this. He was at these various protests when they were throwing fire bombs at him. The guy has been marked for assassination before. There's been drive-bys at his house. I mean, they've done every horrible thing. You name it, and they've done it to him. And so him taking the security and safety of his family seriously and wanting to back off on the media end of things is a rational position from my view. So that's what I think about that. He made it up. You're a fucking idiot. You didn't make up shit. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I talked to him the night of, man. He didn't make up fucking nothing. You're full of fucking dog shit. You don't know nothing. You just pull shit out of your ass because you're fucking retarded. Okay? I've had people come out to assassinate me. I know what that fucking shit's like. It's not fun. Okay? It ain't fun. I had him drive out to Michigan to fucking kill. I've had that shit happen to me. It's not fucking fun. So fuck off. And you don't know what that's like because you're an insignificant fucking nobody who's a critic, anonymous critic in a fucking internet chat room. You don't know shit about nothing. You should shut your fucking mouth while you're ahead. Just shut your fucking mouth, idiot.
What did you feel when Charlie Kirk was assassinated? Where were you when you heard about it?
I was at my house, and a friend of mine who was actually at the event texted me and said, Charlie got shot. I said, who? He said, Charlie Kirk. I said, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And honestly, it was devastating. I didn't like Charlie Kirk at all. And we had an intense rivalry and he hated me. But honest to God, I was devastated. I was emotionally affected by it. I didn't even do a show that night because I was beside myself. So it was rough. I mean, it was hard to watch.
You know what I wonder sometimes? And I don't know if a conversation between me and Fuentes will ever happen or not, or if I even want it to. But the one thing that I would ask him, I'd probably ask this in private. I probably wouldn't even ask it publicly. Just kind of out of curiosity. Fanciful Andrew wonders about it thing is like, I often wonder if one of the reasons that that Nick was so devastated by the Kirk assassination is because Kirk, from his perspective, was a very worthwhile enemy. You know, he was a very skilled kind of political navigator. He had the establishment at his back, which is who Fuentes is always at war with, is whatever the kind of current establishment is, as he calls himself, an iconoclast, right? He's an iconoclast. How he self-describes as a person who is kind of raging against the machine. And Kirk was kind of a perfect nemesis in many ways. And I think over time, when you have a really skilled nemesis, you can't kind of help but respect him a bit. You kind of almost can't help but have some level of actual deep respect for that person. And while I think that publicly perhaps acknowledging that could be in very bad taste, right? We are still men and we still compete. And part of that competition is, if you don't have a boxer at your skill level to box with you, it's not fun to box anymore, right? That's the whole point. If you're the very best at what it is that you do and there's nobody left to challenge you, Alexander wept because there was no more worlds to conquer. And so, just like kind of private musing, I just wonder if there's an aspect of the fact that the guy was a worthwhile enemy. Like he was from Nick's perspective, right? He was just like a really worthwhile enemy who was worth the consistent engagement with. And there's like almost diabolical plots going on, but they were harmless in nature, right? Like successful, skillful political navigating. Let's get Groypers in to ask their questions on the Groyper wars against TPUSA and our side versus your side. I took an L here, but you took an L there. Like there's kind of like a big fun aspect to that. And I wonder if some portion of the devastation is due to that. And again, I think publicly, I'm sure acknowledging that is probably fairly tasteless, but just my own curiosity, I wonder about it. In regards to Tim Pool, I can't help but remember the line from The Patriot, Mel Gibson's character position. I'm a father. I don't have the luxury of principles. Totally agree with you, Andrew. Yeah, I wish him the best. And I don't think that destroys his principles by wanting to take better care of his family, right? I don't think so. And I think a lot of the people who say you're a coward and this and that say that because they actually want to navigate right-wingers into positions where they get murdered. I think a lot of them are leftist plants, to be perfectly frank with you. I do. The Groypers threatened and doxed Charlie multiple times. Yeah, I'm not saying that this was a clean battle, okay? That's not what I'm saying here at all. I'm just privately musing I wonder, well, I guess I'm publicly musing, but it's just kind of a private thought that was, rattling in my head. If there's a possibility that, it was the Lex Luthor versus Superman thing, you know what I mean?
When you say you were beside yourself, I mean, you hated him.
I don't hate anybody. I didn't hate him, but I really didn't like him. I intensely disliked him, and I didn't agree with him.
He called you vermin, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, he hated me also.
But you were still beside yourself when you heard what happened to him.
I was. I thought it was disgusting what was done to him, and it was tragic, and it was horrifying.
Do you fear an attack like that on yourself? Have you upped your own security?
Yeah. Duh. No shit. Yes.
Because of this? Because your profile's got exponentially higher since what happened to Charlie Kirk.
I have increased my security, and but something similar like that happened to me. Someone came to my house with a gun about a year ago, almost exactly, trying to kill me, and he was shot and killed in my alleyway. So I've had increased security for a while. It's a bad time out there, and I do believe it was a left-wing person that killed him. I think it was a left-wing person that tried to kill me. So yeah, I take it very seriously.
Elon Musk said on his X platform that you're a Fed. You're a paid-up hire of the government. Is that true?
No.
100. You've never worked for the government in any capacity.
I've never talked to federal law enforcement, and actually, I've testified to that fact under oath when I was subpoenaed by the Congress. People leave that part out. but I got subpoenaed, I think in January 2022, I think it was. And I was deposed by the subcommittee, the House Select Subcommittee on January 6th. And they asked me, did you speak with any federal law enforcement? And under oath, I said, no, I've never had contact with them. I've never turned over devices. So no, absolutely not.
There's been footage that's come out again this week. This is you at the January the 6th riots. Let's take a look.
It appears we are taking the Capitol back. Keep marching and don't relent, never relent. Break down the barriers and disregard the police. This Capitol belongs to us. The police are evacuating the Capitol. Politicians throws wrath, scurry out of the people's house.
Now you're heard there shouting down your loud hailer, break down the barriers and disregard the police. The Capitol belongs to us now. What did you mean by that?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The Capitol belongs to the people.
Disregard the police. So you don't support law and order.
No, I support law and order, but on that day, the police were brutal. The police killed somebody, Ashley Babbitt. And, they were throwing people off of the rafters. They killed multiple people. So
when disregarding the police is the first step to anarchy, isn't it?
Well, I think the first step to anarchy is when the government rigs the election, which is what happened. That is when the government loses its legitimacy and its enforcers, consequently, do also.
Well,
that's exactly what happened in 2020.
There is no evidence the government rigged the election. You know that. You're a bright guy.
Well,
No comment. Take this before I go so you don't think we're fucking cheapskates. Oh, no worries there, bro. No worries there.
Now, let's talk about it. Do you want to talk about the election of 2020?
Yeah. I think Trump lost
Okay,
it fair
well.
and square. I think he fought the wrong argument about the stolen election. I've said to him, to his face,
I agree.
The argument he should have said is that the deliberate suppression of things like the Hunter Biden laptop scandal from the media, by social media, by big tech, was actually a deliberate attempt to subvert the result of the election. And that's a much better argument because it's undeniable. When the New York Post that had that exclusive were basically shadow banned off all social media for the 2 weeks before the election, that was an absolute disgrace. And if I was Donald Trump, I would focus on that as being my main argument that election was slanted against him. When he goes off into saying that there was widespread rigging and voter systems were wrong, we've litigated all this now through various court cases. Various Republican judges have ruled there was no rigging of that kind. In fact, the American election system is accepted by most people around the world as being one of the best in the world, one of the most reliable. So I just think he fought the wrong argument. If he said the deliberate suppression of damaging stories to the Bidens, which could have swung the election, was outrageous and unacceptable, I'm 100% behind him. But by building this spurious argument that it was all rigged through voting systems and so on, he lost me.
Well, I agree about the voting systems, but when they went into the machines, I think that was ridiculous. However, what has to be accounted for is that in 2016, 35% of the votes
Unsecure ballots
were cast by mail. By 2020, it was 70% because of the pandemic. So you doubled the amount of votes that happened by mail. They called it in-person early voting. They called it a variety of different things. And the other thing that they changed is they solicited the mail-in ballots. So they sent ballots to people's houses. And once you do that, I mean, you have absentee balloting normally, but it's a process. You got to give your social security number, your ID. They send it to you. There's regulations in place. This is an election where they doubled the amount of mail-in votes and they sent ballots to people's houses. And when you do that, you break the chain of custody. So they send the ballot out and then they tell people return it at a 24-hour ballot drop site that's unsupervised. There's thousands of them. And they're going to hope that all the ballots that find their way into these drop boxes were filled out by the person that the ballot was intended for. And I know that didn't happen. I'll tell you why. My uncle has been dead for 26 years. He got a ballot in 2020.
Can't even talk about this on YouTube. I know they say you can, but you can't even talk about it. Here you go, bad grifty man. Notice here, Piers says there's no evidence and brings up an argument he says would be undisputable evidence. Make up your mind, Piers. Well, no, he's not saying evidence of the election being stolen. He's saying that would be evidence that there was like a smear campaign or something like that. But yeah, this is fucking... the unsecure ballots is something which is I've always thought was a great argument. And of course, we can't really... Like, how do you retroactively prove that? That's the big problem. That's the big problem. But anyway, I'm done with this mystery. Let's go full screen. We've been going for like 3.5 hours. So I'm going to sign off here soon. We got a full week of content in front of us. I took a few days off there. Sorry about that. I kind of need to recharge the batteries. I've been going. And I needed to take a few days and actually get some stuff done in my life. So from all the travel and everything else. So I got everything taken care of, but we got a full week of content. We won't forget your TikTok invasions. I know you guys want your invasions. So we'll do back-to-back invasions this week. I know you want them. I know. I get it. But I did want to cover this debate today because I thought it was interesting. Yeah, I thought it was an interesting debate. And I thought the dialectics were interesting. If the goal only from Morgan was to expose the views of Fuentes, I think that he definitely put the views out there. I'm not so sure that that hurt Fuentes very much to put his views out there. And I also don't think you can get to the views without putting counter arguments down either. This was a big show. You know, this was a huge show for Piers Morgan Uncensored. And, you know, maybe record breaking in viewership ultimately. And I'm not really sure that we gleaned too much more about either of the worldviews than when we started. I'm not so sure. I'm not. There's not really much in the way of arguments there on the bone for us to analyze. It was all just kind of I can't believe that you believe that. I can't believe you believe that. I can't believe that you believe that. And it's like, okay, but he does. So can we get into the actual arguments for these beliefs? Well, my argument is that I can't believe you believe that. You know, and the thing is like you say, well, Pierce isn't a debater. He just did a Jubilee 1v20. That was all debating. Don't tell me he can't debate or refuses to debate. He engages in debates all the time. But for some reason, they chose this tack this time. And I think, I don't think that there was much to be gleaned here. A lot of views. There's going to be a lot of views. So I guess in that way, both of them won. But did we get any closer to any type of positions or prescriptions or not really? I mean, I let that go and go and go and go, and we just never got anywhere. You know, but I do think ultimately that, that Fuentes probably wanted to be on that show, and Piers wanted him on the show. And my hat's off because Piers at least had him on to get the views. That's something. Whether or not he did a good job of pushing back against those views or giving any arguments against them at all, or even, having any sort of exchange of ideas, that didn't seem like it happened there. So 120,000 live I saw on Piers. Yeah, I caught some of it live. I tend to wake up in the afternoon, not in the morning because, I work at night. But what I saw between YouTube and then I think it was, what was the other channel? But I think there was somewhere pretty close to 200,000 live viewers at its peak. I mean, it's a huge show. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, mainstream media outlets would kill to have those types of live viewers again. they would just kill for it. So yeah, I just don't think we got anywhere here. I don't. I do think so. I guess if I'm going to give my final analysis, and then Mr. E, let me know what you think here too. But kind of my final analysis here is that I think that Fuentes equipped himself pretty well here. He didn't come off looking like some psychopath. He didn't come off looking like some lunatic. He didn't come off looking that way at all. Morgan did come off looking like he was engaging in gotcha journalism with a bunch of pre-set up questions designed to maximize the effect of making the opposition look bad and demonizing them. And that tactic people are very wary of because of the MSM days, especially considering what they did to Trump. So I'm not sure that he came away looking good from any of this. But I mean, ultimately, we just didn't get anywhere. You know, it turns out that it was kind of meaningless ultimately. So anyway, I appreciate your time tonight. It was very kind of you guys to tune in. I did enjoy watching it, and I enjoyed doing the breakdown. I enjoyed, talking to you guys in the micro debates, which we always end up in. But from all of us here at the Crucible, all of you out there in Crucible land, I want to wish all of you a wonderful night, and see you tomorrow.